who are not able to come who want to watch it. So we just want to make sure that we have the recording in place. We're going to record it twice. Once live and once at the tripod. And that's what we're doing.
What do you need when
I'm going to do it on my phone, record it, and then post it. And Gregory's doing it live, but it's a little blurry.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Now for the second introduction. Jenny Askedelis is a Lebanese-American iconographer, educator, muralist, folk finisher, and calligrapher. She lives in Louisville, Kentucky, where her brother, of blessed memory, Archpriest Alexander Addy, pastor for 30 years at St. Michael the Archangel, Orthodox Church. He then served the last few years of his life as Dean of St. Orthodox Seminary, and that's where he's interned. Jenny has devoted her life to using her talents and skills in service to the Orthodox Church. Her goal as an iconographer is to help people understand the difference between iconography and fine art. She shares what she learned from her years of study under master iconographer Ksenia Pokrovsky of blessed memory. Understanding the difference between icons and fine art is vital for every Orthodox Christian. Jenny hopes that by learning more about our holy icons, their mystery and beauty can be revealed to each believer in a more meaningful way. It will enhance our connection to the cloud of witnesses we see in our churches and homes.
I'm honored to be here. I've known Lydia Christina since she was a little girl. I went to the same church in New Jersey, and I love her family, her parents, and it's an honor to be here. Anyway, I majored in art ed at Penn State, and I used to sit in church and criticize the icons as I was learning perspective, I was learning fabric, molds, and everything. Everything in the icon is not the same as realistic art. Icons aren't the decoration in your home or value. People buy them as an investment. They are a tool for worship and prayer, and they are a window to heaven. This icon is one of my favorites. It's in St. Catherine's Monastery in Sinai. Later on, I'll talk about iconoclasm. This icon was done before that, because all the icons in St. Catherine were safe. They weren't being destroyed during the period of iconoclasm. I'll explain that later. It took over 300 years for Christianity to be legal after the crucifixion of Christ. So the Christians who believed in Christ and passed it down to their generations, they used to have graffiti in the catacombs, which are burial sites under the city. And they would have frescoes and graffiti, and all these symbols were used to show that they were Christian, but the Romans and the Jews didn't recognize them. If the anchor, and this is a fresco in the catacombs, and it's the Good Shepherd. Things like this, that Christians would see that and know what it was, but other people didn't. Here's the Good Shepherd. It's in the 3rd century in the Roman catacombs. These were burial sites where families would bury the dead, and they would have, frescoes and graffiti to show the Christian, the faith. And also, this is one of the earliest images of Christ on the ceiling. This is the Virgin Arans, and that means when her hands are wide open like that, she's praying. That's what that means. A lot of icons are based on reality. This is a 2nd or 3rd century medallion that shows Peter and Paul. And so we know that these images were done from life at one point. And so every icon of Peter and Paul have the same features. Peter on the left and Paul on the right. These were frescoes in the catacombs that recently were uncovered because they used laser technology to clean off the limestone on the ceiling, and they found these images of Peter and Paul, but the laser technology didn't ruin the pigments, so they had that bright color as if they were just and there's an icon of Peter and Paul, the same exact features. Some icons were done from images, like we have several icons done after the invention of the camera, and we have photographs of these saints. But the iconographer sticks to reality and uses their images to portray them in an icon. We hear a lot about forensic science, and a forensic artist had the skull of St. Nicholas, and he modeled his face on that skull. So this is what modeled that skull. That's the image of St. Nicholas. And there it is on the top center. And all these images of St. Nicholas from different countries and different times look like him. So they are based on reality. And here's a carving of St. Nicholas on the left by Jonathan Pajot. You can look him up on Google. He's very famous right now. He does icon carvings, and that's carved out of stone from Africa. Theatite, something like that. And this is St. Nicholas on the right, done by Xenia's daughter, Anna. And Xenia had her children in her studio, but Anna was there since she was a baby. And now since Xenia passed away, blessed memory, Anna does beautiful churches, and they live up in Boston. That's her beautiful work. And Xenia said, when you're a teacher, you want your children to play leapfrog. You want your students to play leapfrog and get better than you. And she said, my daughter Anna is better than me. Icons were actually inspired by the Fayum portraits in Egypt. If you ever go to the Metropolitan Museum in Manhattan, they have a big collection of Fayum portraits, and the Egyptians believed in an afterlife, different from ours, of course, but they have portraits of themselves painted and put on the cover of the sarcophagus, so that in the afterlife they would be able to recognize which one was there. Scientists x-rayed those mummies in those sarcophagus, and the body was much older than the face. They actually portrayed their younger look. There's some more. You can see the comparison between them and icons because of the gold leaf and the frontal view and the big eyes. And these are Fayum portraits from Egypt. That's how they're attached to the sarcophagus. These are two icons at St. Catherine's, and they were done in the 6th century, before iconoclasm. see later that they don't like the gospel that Christ is holding. It goes, gets smaller in the background. In modern iconography after this, the gospel gets wider. I'll explain that later. There's Saint Peter, again, same features as the original. There's the Emperor Constantine, whose mother, Helena, found the location of the Holy Cross. And he made Christianity legal. And the name, he established the Byzantine Empire, and it was called Constantinople, which was named after him. But his mother found the Holy Cross, and also the night before a battle, he dreamt of a cross in the sky. And he told all of his soldiers to paint a cross on their shields, and he won the battle. And so he was in charge, he was the head of the Byzantine Empire, which was huge. You see that green area? That was the Byzantine Empire at the time. And Christianity finally was legal. I think it was 313 AD. And then this is the massive cathedral they built. I have no idea how, because the dome is 180 feet wide. And now it's a mosque. It became a museum, and then it's a mosque again. But this was the original Orthodox Church, which was massive. I'll show you pictures that will demonstrate that. But, you know, with God, everything is possible. I just hope that someday it'll come back to us. And with God and the help of Photoshop,
Here you go.
it looks much better, right?
That's all. That's it.
This is interesting. There's the inside. Look at the people on the floor area. Look how small they are. You see the massive size of this. Hard to believe they could build this without power equipment. It's really unbelievable. And there's Saint Constantine with his mother Helena. And that's my middle name, Helen. So she's my saint. This is a mosaic in the Hagia Sophia, which means holy wisdom. You hear a priest would bring out a gospel and say Sophia, medicine 10, that means wisdom. And so this is really an important mosaic in the Hagia Sophia because it's the first time that someone was above the kings. So Christ is higher than the rulers. And I saw a TV show on PBS or something about the Hagia Sophia, and it was there. These icons, mosaics, are very high in that huge building. And I heard that it was interesting to learn that the gold tiles are not flat on the wall; they are angled 45 degrees, so that the light hits them, and people down on the ground see it. There's another one. Theotokos is higher than the kings, and they're holding, Constantine is holding the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which he built when his mother found the Holy Cross. And then, yes, he's holding the Hagia Sophia, because he had that built. This is the beginning of iconoclasm, where iconoclasts were criticized for worshiping the icon, almost like if the Bible says not to make images. Well, people criticize Orthodox Christians by kissing the icon and reverencing them. So, do they contradict the second commandment, which forbids us to worship graven images? This was the charge that was leveled against iconoclasts. Now, that means lovers of icons. By the iconoclasts, who called them idolaters and destroyers of the Word of God. Similar accusations are sometimes made against Orthodox people today, because since we've been having a lot of inquirers and converts in our church, and they come from a church that doesn't have images, and they are puzzled by us kissing the icon, lighting candle, and sometimes they're a little uneasy. Not after they this little girl said, I didn't like that. He said, why? She said, because there aren't any people on the walls. So children see the image, the icon is a window, and the saint is on the other side of that window frame, looking at us. So it's a tool for worship, and children see, like babies in our church often look up at the dome, often, and point to it. And this little boy that became my godson looked up at the dome and looked at me and said, see? Aww. So it's really special how they connect right away. Iconoclasm lasted almost 120 years. And they just damaged and burned and destroyed icons. And the only place that was safe was Italy. Sorry, Christian. I don't even know what I touched to do that. I need tech support. So Italy was safe. A lot of iconographers fled there. If you go to Italy, there's a lot of beautiful icons in the Catholic churches there. And also Mount Sinai was safe. St. John of Damascus wrote a treaty about icons, and he said that I do not worship matter. I mean, he wrote so much, it's a little book. But he said, I do not worship matter, I worship the creator of matter. We're not kissing wood and paint. We're worshiping the person who is in that icon, who is a reflection of Christ. All of the light of an icon, all the light of the face and the garments is the light of Christ. And then they whitewashed icons which were on the walls that couldn't be burned. So they scraped eyes off. If you see pictures of icons with their faces scraped off or whitewashed on the wall of the church, this is what they did. This icon represents the Sunday Orthodoxy. Because when icons were allowed back in the church, people processed with icons, and we celebrate the Sunday Orthodoxy every year. People bring their icons and they have a procession. In order to be an icon, it has to meet 3 criteria. It has to be theologically correct. Iconographers can't make up anything. Copy prototypes. My teacher loved 14th and 15th century Russia. And so we copied those, traced them, and then took the tracing and transferred it to a board with carbon paper or pencil, what's that called? Graphite paper. And actually traced the icon before we painted it. And that's what we have. It has to be theologically correct because, and that's why some people say icons are written. And other people say icons are painted. They're both right. But written means it has to tell a theologically correct story. They were originally used to teach illiterate people, which most people were centuries ago. So they'd go to church and they would see stories from the Bible and icons of saints, and that's what they were originally done for, but they have to be correct. It has to be nice to look at, aesthetically pleasing. It has to be written with the grammar of icons, and I'll explain some of that later, the language that they developed. This is a perfect example. These were done by my teacher, Saint Orthodox, and this is very a good example of the grammar of icons, because these are the only ones where the name of the icon is written in Greek. And when you see that little scroll above the 2 letters, it looks like M-P-O-E. That means Mater Deo, Mother of God. But these are always in Greek. In America, we should do icons, the names of the saints in English. And I've been, St. Icons, they're all in Russian. In Greece, you see them written in Greek. But these 2 are the only ones written in Greek in America. And the little scroll combination, so that it's the first and last letter of mentor, and the first and last letter of Theo. So that's what that little line at the top means. And Christ is ICXC, and that's Jesus Christos. And that's the symbol, also the word for fish, which is considered almost like communion. When you think of the story of the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, the fish allow themselves to be eaten. It's almost like comparison to communion. And then in Christ's halo, no matter how old he is, baby or an adult, there's a cross in his halo. And the Greek letters that look like it's W-O-N, but they're Greek letters, and it means I am. And that's in every icon of Christ, and nobody else has a cross in their halo. There was a man that came to our church with an old antique coin from the Byzantine region, and it had, all that was left on it was the halo and the little cross. So we knew the image of Christ was on that coin, even though it was all rubbed off. Also, the colors, the garments, Theotokos has red, which is the earthly color. She's born on earth, but she gave birth to God, so her inner garment is blue. And then Christ has the opposite. He was from heaven, and also it's just a heavenly and a red inner garment means he was born on earth. So it's that combination of heaven and earth that we have in icons. When I was in high school learning perspective drawing, this is 1 point perspective because the railroad tracks meet at a point in the distance on the horizon. So that's 1 point perspective. This is 2 point perspective where the sides of a building go down, and there's 2 points on the horizon. So the center is the tallest, and then the lines go down to the points. On the bottom part of this is inverse perspective, which is used in icons, showing that it's showing a greater world, and the icon, the perspective point is right here with the viewer. You see how everything is stretched out and straight, bigger in the back than in the front. This is a great example of the architecture. See, the tops of the roofs are smaller than the one closest to us. Everything is wider. Everything is more important and greater in heaven. The red cloth on the buildings means that the event in the icon happened indoors. So when you see that red cloth draped on the buildings, that's what that means. There's an example right there. And this is the Annunciation when Gabriel landed, and the action of him landing was evident in one wing up, and he just landed on the footstool and startled Theotokos. She was weaving the curtain for the temple, and some icons show her dropping the spool of yarn. She's startled by his approach. So this is simultaneous narration. He announced to her that she's pregnant with the Son of God. She accepts. All of this is one icon. This is a very famous, beautiful icon, 12th century Constantinople. I just want to point out the roundness of her head. If this was a portrait, her head would look more egg-shaped. But in iconography, the inverse perspective, which makes everything wider, includes the head and the body. So her head is almost a perfect circle, and just if I did think something. So we use something called a halo maker. Everybody see that? It's just concentric circles. And we put that, we center the head, center this on the head, and we figure out how wide the halo will be. And that center point is the compass point. That's what we call that. I should have brought a white one instead of a clear one. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the head is a circle, not an oval. And so this works for figuring out where the halo goes and where to put the compass point. Anyway. Icons of saints that are done after the invention of the camera. It's very important to see. If you overlay that icon to his face, the features are respected and kept in the icon itself. But this is different because this is what icons don't have. They don't have shadows. And you can see the shadow on the side of his face. But he has the same features. And all the light is coming from his face, which causes the concentric halo around his head. In Western art, sometimes halos are shown as a little disc hovering over the saint. And that means that this light, his halo, comes from heaven. This halo shows the light coming from him. And his garments are lit up. And you can see the shadows there, and then no shadows here. And here's another one. This is in our chapel, St. Raphael, Brooklyn. He established, I think, 30 churches in America. One of them is St. Nicholas Cathedral in Brooklyn. And that's where my son got married. And this is in our chapel. And notice the features are respected and maintained. This is St. John Maximovich. And our iconographer, Vladimir Krasovsky, my brother hired in 1985. He just came a few weeks ago to install more icons in the chapel. And they're all donated in memory of my brother. Eventually, the whole chapel's going to be covered. This installation 2 weeks ago was the altar area. And he covered the whole ceiling. One side is the entry to Jerusalem, and the other side is the raising of Lazarus. It covers the whole ceiling over the altar. It's a beautiful work. He did that one. And his body is in San Francisco, the Cathedral, Joy of All Who Sorrow. Beautiful wooden shrine when you walk into the church on the right, and his body's in a coffin with a glass lid. And when priests are buried, a cloth is put over their face, but his hands are crossed. You can see those, and his little feet with velvet slippers are in that coffin. And Vladimir had a relationship with him. When they were all immigrating from Russia to come over to America, they went through Asia on the way out, and his mother was pregnant with him at the time. I'm sorry. Yeah, oh, it is. Oh, there it is. And so St. John wrote a letter to Vladimir's parents, and his parents wrote a letter to St. John. They knew him in Russia, and they told him that there weren't any Orthodox churches where they were, and he was about to be born. And St. John wrote a letter to them, telling them how to baptize him. He has that on his icon wall, and I have a copy of it. And it's written in Russian, and it's written by St. John to Vladimir's parents. So when they all moved to San Francisco, Vladimir went to confession to him once. It took 45 minutes. And then he also was an altar boy with him. But he was there at the church, the kids were having a dance in the basement, and he would come down and they'd change the music real fast. And then he said to Vladimir, the person you like, do it. He didn't. Vladimir listened. And finds out later it would have been Vladimir's wonderful wife. So anyway, yeah, his relationship with him was amazing, and he also was there when they vested him for the coffin. And he actually took the root icon of Kursk up to Seattle for a liturgy, and when he went up to the rectory after church and was going to change clothes, they heard this big thud, and he died in this room in that rectory, so they made it into a little chapel. I wanted to show you this because the light on the garments body touches the garment. And the back part is dark, because that's, in inverse perspective, you're seeing a little bit of his back. You know, the body is getting wider in the back also, but where the fabric is lightest, that's where the body is touching it. And the fabric looks like crystals. It doesn't hang like real cloth. So the light coming through is really beautiful on that. The Holy Mandelion icon is the face of Christ only on a towel. And our legend, or our belief, is that King Abgar from Edessa asked one of his messengers to invite Christ to his castle, or where he lived, because he was suffering from leprosy. And so the messenger, Jesus knew what he wanted. He couldn't go to Edessa, but he asked for a cloth. He pressed it on his face, and his image appeared. Very famous image. And so when the messenger took the cloth back to the king, his leprosy was healed, except he had a big area on his forehead that was visible. And when King Abgar converted his country to Christianity, the forehead, the leprosy was healed on his forehead. So this is often called the icon made without hands. And there's the one in our chapel that Vladimir did. It's just the head, no body, no bones. Here's the one from Greece that's in our chapel in the iconostase. And this is the Russian one. The Russian palette is a lot of earth tones compared to icons you see from Greece or other countries. They have more jewel tones in Greek icons, but the Russians have a very soft palette. St. Luke was the first iconographer. He actually painted the Theotokos from life. So here's an image of him painting her, and she looked at the image and said, "People will call this blessed." So this is the icon of the Theotokos called the Podigitrium icon, and she's looking at us, and she's pointing to him. And on the right, there's an angel guiding his hands as he's painting the icon. The apostles and Mary were friends. They spent a lot of time together, and here is all the icons from different cultures, different countries, and they are all based on St. Luke's icon. This is interesting in an icon talk, but it's very important because the Torah scribe is knowing the Torah and calligraphy. But when you look at that page, you see all these blank spots. That's where the word God goes. There was no word to describe God, so they left it blank. The same way, we're not supposed to paint icons of God the Father, although you see him everywhere. It's not that you look at that and criticize it. My iconography teacher, Mari, he worked under Zenian, he said God created man, so with man's neurosis, he wanted to return the favor. And that, you go to many monasteries, you'll see God the Father, but he's not a white-haired man sitting on a throne. This is just something that people need to express. This is the Holy Spirit in our church, Vladimir did. And that blue area is called the mandorla, and the rays coming from it means it's like from heaven, the Holy Spirit. In Exodus, God tells how to make the Ark of the Covenant, with two seraphs on the cover, but the details in that passage in Exodus are very detailed. It really talks about creating angels. And when people question icons, like no one ever saw God, so why is there an icon of God? There are so many stories of angels coming in contact with people. So people have seen angels, and God tells how to make the ark with two angels on the top. Holy Trinity. It's the Holy Spirit coming from heaven and the mandorla, the rays. Anytime you see a blue area with rays coming out of it, that's a little piece of heaven. So the icon shows the earthly things and the heavenly things. It's like two realities. Like Christ is 100% human, 100% divine. Icons show the two realities in there. So you have the mandorla at the top with the Holy Spirit in it, and Jesus. So it's God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. This is the icon of the three holy visitors, and on the left is the hospitality of Abraham. Abraham and Sarah are serving the food on the table, and they killed the fatted calf. And so when these three angels appeared to Abraham, he knelt down and worshiped the Lord. This is a reference to the Holy Trinity and the first book in the Bible. And so when I did an icon of the Holy Trinity, my teacher said, every day before you start working, read Genesis 18. And then there was this famous iconographer in Russia named Andrei Rublev, and I think he's a saint. But he took that composition, and he made this beautiful Trinity on the right. And notice that the center angel has the colors that Christ wears, the blue outer garment and the red inner garment, and he has his fingers out blessing the food. So this is the Holy Trinity from the first book of the Bible. And also, look at that table. It's kind of, if you look at it, it's shaped like a chalice almost, but what's important is the front of it is open for you to join. So that in front of that table is an invitation to us. And this is just to show you the circular composition that Rublev did. Abraham and Sarah has three visitors, but everything is circular. And notice the foot rests are wider in the back than they are in the front. And the mountains arc towards Jesus. And the architecture is inverse perspective. There's a circular composition. We see those mountains in so many icons. What do they? Well, they're not realistic. They're all part of the icon language, and they arc towards Christ. I mean, if they're done right, they arc towards Him. Like, you can see they're all supposed to almost bowing down. They're not realistic mountains. They're not realistic vegetation either.
But they actually look very similar to the mountains that you see in the Middle East. I mean, like, you see that all over Israel. That's what they look like.
Oh.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are two that I did of the Holy Trinity. The one on the left is above the royal doors in the chapel. These were done with egg tempera and gold leaf on wood. Egg tempera can't be done on canvas because eggs, they fossilize. And if you put them on canvas and roll it up, it would crack off. So they're done on wood. This one's done on canvas. We have a senior apartment building on our property with 16 individual apartments. And seniors live in there. They all have their own space. It's not assisted living. It's apartments. And so this is in their vestibule. We have a curved wall. So this is actually 10 feet long. Oh no. This is 10 feet long. Yeah, okay. Thanks. What? You should pull up a chair right here. Anyway, it's 10 feet long. I had to build a stretcher 10 feet long and staple the canvas on. And then it's glued on with wallpaper case. We use this commercial case that has display based. And this is the hospitality of Abraham. And the apartment building is called Trinity Apartments.
So did you say you did that in egg tempera or no?
No, the wooden one on the left I did.
Okay.
It's the tempera and gold leaf. And on the right it's acrylic paint on canvas because it's flexible. All icons are religious art, and not all religious art is child and Christmas cards and all that. But you can see the painters would have models from the street come in for people to pose for these paintings. So they're based on reality. The baby looks like a chubby little infant, and you never see that in an icon of Orthodox. Jesus looks almost like a little man holding a scroll, which is the wisdom of God. So these are based on, they're beautiful. We grew up with them. They're not an icon. You see the difference here. Jesus looks like a little man holding the scroll. She's looking right at us and pointing. Also, icons don't show the agony and pain of crucifixion or anything else that happens. But in this German artist work, you can see the anguish of the people and also the suffering of Jesus. And we have a more peaceful crucifixion. Everybody's sad, but it's not that, doesn't show that agony. Here's the nativity icon, and what's interesting about this is that the Christ child is wrapped in swaddling clothes, but looks almost like it's a prediction of his death, because even the print he's in looks like a prophet, and he's wrapped in the cloth that they was wrapped for burial. And Mary is not looking at us, she's looking away. And Joseph is being tricked by a person in sheep's clothing. And it's like, he's like a devil telling Joseph, there's no way that this happened the way he said it happened. And there's all these things that took place on this icon didn't happen at once. They're in scripture, but the feast day icons show everything that happened connected to that important day. And also, everything in this icon is present day. It's not a picture of what happened in the past. So in church, we use the word today, not yesterday. This didn't happen in the past. This is happening right now. There are all these things that are in here, like the three wise men, the angels, shepherds, everything in there happened, but not all at the same time. So it's called simultaneous narration. The iconographer can't just make things up. Everything in this happened. And I wanted to show you the one in our chapel. And I asked Vladimir, that has a big mandorla with a 7-pointed star in it. And I said, what is the meaning of that? That's the nativity there. And he said, it's only used in the nativity icon. And he said the 7-pointed star is the birth of Christianity. So before that, it was the 6-pointed star, the Star of David. And then the 7-pointed star is the birth of Christ. And then the 8-pointed star is 8 days. What is the explanation for the 8-pointed star?
So I used to go to a church in Alaska that was an octagon,
Oh,
right? And so the eighth point is it's the new day.
okay. Yeah, but that pink mandorla, even Olga didn't hear about that before. I was really, I said, you won't believe what I learned today. We're learning every day. This is our church, and I'm in the choir loft. We have choir practice at night, sometimes before a big feast day. And no lights were on. The chandelier's off, all the lights in the front are on. But what I love is how a candle or a little light will light up the gold leaf. And it looks like, talking about icons are a window to heaven. To me, all the saints are standing on the other side of the window, looking at us. Because an icon is a meeting place for us and the saint referenced in this icon. So I just love that when I look out in a dark church fire, and I said, look at that icon lit up. It's the feast day that we're celebrating. This is the dome in our chapel. I'm glad he did that. I helped him with all the installations. In fact, he put one, his calligraphy is beautiful too. And he put one coat on and you could see through. See the red coming through that yellow paint. And then he says, oh my gosh, I have to catch a plane. And I said, okay, I'll finish it. So I did the second coat on all the letters. There's more spotlights. It's just the sun coming through those windows. This is the Annunciation icon I did for the royal doors. And one of my friends said, what are you doing on the back one? I said, what do you mean? And she said, she went to Russia and the iconostas had icons on the back facing the altar. I never knew that. So then I did the, this is the apps. Their focus. There's the back one. I did the cherubim surrounded by gold leaf. So the only people that see that are the people that are in the altar area.
I mean, thank you for those clouds.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, I just couldn't tell.
What's that?
No, I just wondered if those were clouds. Is that what?
And you can see below the resurrection icon, the mountains are curving towards Christ. There it is. I wish it was a better picture. But Christ is standing on the doors to Hades that he kicked down. I heard a priest talk about this icon, and he said, "There's Christ will enter your heart if you invite him in, but you have to let him in. He's not going to open the door to your heart." In fact, there's an icon. I wish I had it here, but it's Christ on the outside of the door, knocking on it, and the door's open, and the only doorknob is on the inside. So he doesn't have a doorknob. He's knocking on the door to our heart, and will come in and be let. But when he went to Hades, he kicked the doors down like a SWAT team. I love that. And there they are. They're in the shape of the cross. His feet are on them. He's pulling Adam and Eve out of their tombs. He's pulling them by their wrists. They're not helping themselves. He has them by their wrist, and he's pulling them up. And the priest also said that, I heard talk about this, he said, this is a perfect wedding because the husband and wife are not together unless they have Christ in them. So that's a great illustration of that. And underneath the cross or the doors, you see all the locks and chains broken by him. He's pulling everybody out of the graves, and Adam and Eve represent us. This is the door mission icon, which we're starting to fast today, and I wanted to show you that Christ is in a mandorla, and it's an almond shape. This one, they're not all almond shapes, but they are blue areas with rays coming out of, represents heaven, and that's heaven and earth in one icon. Christ is holding an infant, which is the infant Mary, wrapped in swaddling clothes, and he is the midwife in this icon. And Mary, their focus is surrounded by the apostles, because the angel Gabriel, who announced her pregnancy, also announced her death. And so when she knew she was going to die, she said, I want all the apostles near me. There's an icon of, I have a paper one put out, but it's the apostles are all coming in on a cloud that's being pulled in by angels. So they were all over spreading the word of Christ, but they all showed up at the burial of Mary, but not Thomas. He came 3 days later, and all he saw when he went to her tomb was
two presentations, right?
Yeah, this is about, creating an icon.
Great, so let's take a coffee break
Okay.
and an oxygen break.
Any questions?
Any questions first?
I have a question. With the Trinity icon on the altar, there was like a square. Does that represent anything?
You mean the rectangle on the front of the
Yeah,
table?
the rectangular on the altar of the Trinity.
That's on all of them, I'm not sure. Never heard it, really, I never heard a reason for that.
What do you think?
Catherine, do
Or
you have any
maybe I
idea?
did.
I don't think so, I agree with you, that, you know, there's variations, I never noticed that, I think.
Yeah.
So the explanation I've heard for the rectangle is that on the icon by St. Andre Rupert, they found adhesive on it, and they speculated there was a mirror right there. You could see yourself in the icon seated at the base.
When you gave this talk at St. Michael's last summer, I don't remember the actual comment, but someone from the audience reflected something similar, that what he had learned, I had not learned it, was that it represented, I think he did reference a mirror of some kind, I don't know, but that would be something.
Which matches what you said, they leave that side of the table open as a space for you to come and dine. It's beautiful.
Any other questions?
I actually think it's precious that without actually knowing the exact reason why iconographers all these centuries have trusted the pattern that came before them and continue to represent, the same instructions and design. That's just very famous.
Are you talking about the little, it's like a drawing? I'm thinking of something else, because you come out drawing, this is whoever asked.
So the Trinity icon on
Yeah,
this.
is it a drawing that looks like, yeah, let's just go see. Because I think I know what you mean. It
Right
was
there.
something,
So it's a
See
little
that?
black,
yeah, like, well, I've heard too, that, you go in it. It's almost like it brings you into the iPad itself. That, I didn't know what you meant, I thought you meant it was like a decoration. But no, that's actually like a little,
It's a little window.
yeah, and I think that's what it was sort of.
yeah, it's in all of them.
In modern language, it would be a portal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
Because your eyes naturally kind of go to the chalice.
right,
Or they
right.
would, but that kind of like you see them both.
Yeah, they all have it. You know that.
Well, then I guess we can infer that the expectations of the table isn't complete, really without you. God is complete, but the table, the supper, is not complete without us filling the table.
I have a question. Not everybody knows, but can you tell us which angel represents which part?
Yeah.
Oh, the only one that that's really, no, I don't, the only one that I know is Christ is in the center because of the color of his garments.
Okay.
They all have identical faces. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but no, I don't know.
If I could say on the right is the green for the Holy Spirit. So we would
Oh,
assume it's
okay.
Father, Son, and Holy
Oh,
Spirit.
all right,
And they're both looking at the Father on the left.
That makes sense.
yeah.
So cute.
So it seems to me that Rublev takes some license, some innovation in the way he colored those garments. Did you do not see that in the one on the left, which I think you said is a precursor, right? So when you say that all iconography is, copy in a sense, there is room for imagination, for, and I want to, not just like any old thing, but, with the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, it's possible for an iconographer to reinterpret, a given scene and, or saint and add something.
Yeah, the iconographer George Cordes, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, he did a church in Indianapolis.
Yeah, he did the Greek and the Antiochian
Yeah,
churches.
he has very different faces and, yes, that's his style. So an advanced iconographer can create an icon using the facts around it and changing the style.
Here's another question.
Okay. where an icon comes from because of the color. Monasteries use, what's available on their property. Those icons are made of minerals and clays and different things like yellow ochre and burnt sienna from Siena, Italy. And burnt sienna means sienna that was heated, burn it a little bit, makes it a darker brown. And all these icons are made of animal, mineral, vegetable. The animal is the egg yolk in egg yolk icons. Egg tempera. And the minerals are the clays and actually rocks. My teacher used to grind rocks on glass, with a blower on a piece of glass, and it's awful. It sounds like nails on a chalkboard. But she created all these different pigments based on minerals. Like malachite has 2 shades of green in it, or 3 shades, and she would try to separate them with a pair of pliers and then grind them and get these. And that powder, real fun. You just use the muller until the noise stops, and then that powder is so fine that it's used as pigment added to egg yolk. Egg yolk is the medium, like in oil paints, oil and pigments are oil paints, and then acrylic is a water base mixed with pigments. So, yeah, that's really, she knew so much. She was a physicist in a lab studying DNA. And she wasn't happy with that, and her priest told her she was going to be an iconographer, almost like a clairvoyant kind of priest that knew her future. And that's what happened. She was brilliant. Yes?
Why is there a horse?
I was just trying to remember that.
Why is there a what?
It
A
looks like
little
he's
horse in the
person
front
riding
of
a
the
horse.
icon.
on the left.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. I forgot.
Is that the fatted calf victim?
No, the fatted calf's head is in the in the bowl.
Oh,
So you see the head. These aren't that clear. Can you see it better there? The head of the calf is in that bowl.
Maybe it's to reflect the suddenness of the lines. Anybody thoughts?
I was just thinking about that horse and I can't remember. I'll look into that.
He was on the left icon, at the bottom, there's a little guy riding a horse.
Well, it's probably a donor, don't you think?
A donor?
Oh, they always put little donors in it. Not always, but like he offered the money maybe, or,
No,
no?
no, it has something to do with the story.
Maybe it's Isaac, like a Greek premonition of Isaac.
I'm sorry, that's a great question, but.
No, that's definitely not the donor. I see it now. I'm so glad. The slaughtering of the, yeah.
So it's not in every icon, it's when some. The angels even told Sarah that she was gonna have a child and she laughed. Yeah, because she was older. Oh, good.
So if that is related to the sacrifice of Isaac, would that be an example of the
Yeah.
simultaneous
Good point.
narration term you were using
Yeah.
within the Tiffany icon?
Prefiguration.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Any other questions?
In the more modern saints that we have photographs of, why, I mean, I've never seen a photograph, I mean, I haven't been around a long time, but never seen a photograph of them, like, why do we use icons instead of photographs, what's the advantage to that?
Because in an icon, the person is transfigured. They're made perfect, and so photographs don't represent that. And the light of Christ comes through them, so there are no shadows. Light flows from their face and their body, and like wherever their body touches the garment, that's the lightest part in an icon. And also, they're transfigured and made perfect, so like Saint St. John Maximovich wore glasses. And sometimes an iconographer paints the glasses, but they really shouldn't, because he was made perfect in heaven. St. John the Baptist lived in the desert, and made locusts and honey, and his hair was a mess. And in an icon, his hair is perfect. Every hair is numbered. So it just shows the transfigured saint.
Can I say something about that? So there are a lot of people who have had, after someone has departed, and they will have a dream, or they will have for lack of a better word, an experience that is like a visit, and when they see their departed loved one, I have never heard an exception to this. I'm sure Father, I don't know, Father's heard it all, but I hear over and over again, and in my experience, when you see a loved one that has departed or have a dream, you certainly know that it's them. But they are better, they are younger, they are brighter, they are perfected. They're glowing, there's something about them that's absolutely transfigured. So, but that's such a great question, because we are blessed. I mean, we have photos of St. Nectarius, we have photos of St. Maria, we have photos of St. Elizabeth. We have portraits of them, even sometimes portraits, like we were just at the monastery in Elwood City, there's a portrait of St. Elizabeth in Martyr and St. Maria of Paris. But when we see them not quite as we saw them in this life, it's a reminder that, we're all being transfigured, and they have been transfigured. They are being perfected. It is different. It's them, but it's better, and nothing ends with great.
Just to comment on that, I Googled it.
Oh, great. There you go.
And AI tells us that the small figure on a horse in traditional narrative icons of the hospitality of Abraham represents the servant or young boy whom Abraham ordered to run and prepare the fatted cow for their heavenly gifts.
Thank you.
Now, take that with the big grain of salt.
Ask it
What the box is, okay.
I have a theory on that. I think because with every church you go into, there's a symbol on the altar. That symbol focuses us to look into heaven. And I think that's what that is, because that's the altar. And so that's a symbol of a window into heaven.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, here we go. The small rectangular box or opening on the front of the table represents a reliquary casket. Placed to house older relics and symbolizes the cosmos or an older limitation. Okay, so there's citations in all of the box reliquary. The Orthodox Arts Journal is one of the.
That's what I was thinking when somebody Dan was talking, because you made our reliquary, and I thought that looks like a reliquary for me. That's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Maria.
There was a picture of an icon right about there that has 3 figures on it, and their garments were beautiful.
Yeah.
Good job.
No, I found this to illustrate the circular, composition. And it's been concentric, plus the mountains and the building, everything is in a circle.
One thing that's always just kind of impressed upon me is that even though they represent the 3 different persons of the Trinity, there's so much harmony. There's no competition in terms of authority. Like, they're imperfect. They're depicted as though they're in perfect balance and communion. In terms of features, I think it's special that, you have to think and note their location or maybe their coloring, and then some of the features of the center angel, identify it as representing Christ. But otherwise, they're what's the word? They're co-equal.
Yeah, they're all equal.
They're
Charlie? Yeah.
I loved Elizabeth's point that they're inclining
Yeah,
towards.
Robert, yeah,
I think it's just
Yeah.
absolutely stunning.
That
I noticed
is.
that.
yeah, it's beautiful. And the iconographer didn't do the red garment and eyes has, I don't know, you know.
It is that little stripy thing on.
Oh, that, yeah,
Yeah.
And he retained the green on the right.
right, yeah.
But even the one that's representing the father has had slightly inclined, so it's like a mutual submission, you know? There's no competition.
Right.
So beautiful.
Any other questions?
When we went from like these catacomb engravings, and then now we have all these icons, they seem to have like a homogenized style. Exactly when did those become like set in stone? It's like this kind of framework that we work on.
After iconoclasm, like the icons in the beginning from St. Catherine do not have that inverse perspective. The gospel Peter's holding is getting smaller in the back. Their heads are not in inverse perspective. Their heads aren't wide and circular. They're more oval like a portrait. And I think after iconoclasm, they invented this language of like the inverse perspective, not only on the buildings, footstools, gospel, bodies and heads. That was part of their language of iconography that they developed after iconoclasm. I hope that answers. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you
Good
so
place
much.
to break.
Thank you so much.
There's coffee fresh in the kitchen if anybody needs any.
And oh yeah, and seconds on falafel.
Excuse me, Father Peter? I do too.
How much can you say this phrase? Alice got us all looking a lot closer.
That was so funny about the owner.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I can happy.
You were like,
Where is it?
blocking the whole thing. I didn't even see that.
But no, you know what, I'm so accustomed to these icons. But my favorite icons are always where your context.
Oh.
You know, where you see something that relates to that thing. Now, I guess this is, that's supposed to be heaven, it's a star even, you know, but I don't have a point.
Wrong.
Eight's right.
Well, there's the.
But that's.
Oh, I have
we're
to
going-
ask.
We're going to, Howard and I are gonna go to Kodiak and we're gonna see God Building and the weather building. We will get a, Sadie is to Spruce Island, this will go to the, to the people where the relics are. And we'll go to Spruce Island.
You know what,
Yes.
He told me to go.
That's right. He wasn't crazy.
Okay, so this
He's bishop, but these guys are,
is the
you
kid.
know, he was a monk, a humble monk. And, you know, because his love was so great, you know, and, I mean, that to me is, you know, my God, you love a person.
So you go, yeah, through half.
Oh, I know.
And then,
Well, and what's interesting, you see
yeah,
that,
it's just right across.
it's not really a bow, and of the group that came in the boat, and only two of them stayed. One of them was martyred, and the other one's permanent. You know, the other ones have various reasons why they left. You know, I just, the Saints of North America, I mean, that was the name of our church in St. Louis.
It's pretty good. There was a last year.
Which was unfortunate because, you know, it was always in the fast.
There's,
Yeah, our second Sunday. Anyway, I love that we had this rice.
so,
Yeah, he said he's Raphael. We had a beautiful
there's lots of work for you.
Oh, I could bring it in. Oh, and it's very well done. I was saying Mark has developed into a fantastic. His name is Mark, Shaker. And he, well, you wouldn't know him. He's, I mean, no one know. I mean, he studied under the guy from into Zimmerman. Yeah, Phil Zimmerman. I have an icon by him too. It was always that, in my understanding, that greenish, that teal. Where are we at? What are you looking at? Oh, that's Anthony. Is that what it is? And that's a teal, that teal color. He did all those in AD in that color, and that's what my professional. Although English is very boring. No, I mean, it could be anything else. He showed that something inside into it, the fact that it was, you know, perpetual. And we do one of these wonderful scenes, you know, kind of that
Really have to
landscape.
exhale the same, you know, we need to, that's part of it. But when you're talking about multiple, you know, how many of them.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
What can they do?
can't remember, I know at Jordan she did have assistant members that did, but I don't know what exactly I know they did background stuff, and ceilings, and things like that, but we have a picture of her before when they were still building, and she's in what becomes the altar area, the sanctuary of the church, which at that time was just still rough wood and whatever. And she's painting the Pantocrator that's gonna go in the dome. But it's so cool because here's, little Mother Lydia, and here's this, gigantic.
She was using this pressure.
Yes, it was set up in there because to be mounted, it was quite an engineering thing to get that thing up. And they hadn't even built the top part, so, and then I drew her there also when she was doing some of the, apps, that area up there, just, and it bugs me about the gold leaf in the apps is like little squares. And I can see the squares, and it bugs me, and they're not lined up. I mean, they're in line with each other, but they're like on the same. And it just really bugs me, and I feel like it should be brushed uniform.
Well, that's where you probably almost have to get somebody else in to smoke with and or do the whole thing. It's not.
Well, I know she had other people doing things, I just don't know what.
It's worse.
Yeah.
Bring it up and say that, and then I was doing halo was
So you're
about
looking-
Oh, well.
that's not even that big anymore, I mean, with something like that.
Yeah.
And I got to the starting to do gold leaf and it's shooting out like.
Yeah, it is hard, gold leaf is hard.
I would put it out there and just, like, it's too much time.
It's so tender. Yeah.
And because it wasn't just,
Right.
so then what the priest was smart, he asked somebody that he knew that he came in here and he started, he just showed me what, yeah, that's the thing,
Oh, really?
And then it all became,
Much more, smooth and,
it was beyond.
interesting. Now, I remember when Howard was doing that, he had gold leaf, and to watch him, it's hard, that stuff is so fragile, and then you're dealing with such small spaces sometimes to try to get these tiny
Why don't we do
bits.
this?
It's like, oh, gold leaf, that's just but then you go to some of these places where gold leaf is everywhere, and you're just so impressed. Well, you gotta say, how much that was a lot, but anyway, it's well, anyway, what's your thoughts on this?
No, actually, the funny,
Sure. Oh, yeah. Well, and the DVD came in kind of late, so. Can I go get you another glass of water?
yeah, but we're
Now.
and it's just I think you'd say it's like a
Yeah.
And I'd sit out there and look at the movie. So basically that was
Okay, all right.
and then I used this word.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had any.
It'll be done, and God will place it somewhere.
So,
In fact, when I lifted up 10 or so on the glass of water,
I'll bet,
I
yeah.
thought it would die.
It's so hard to move that. If there's any flex at all.
It was just so bad. I couldn't even bring that up. But I'm looking at something every day. I was
And then, yeah, the humidity just they won't set. Would you want some besides water? You know, with that house, like tea with honey? That one, no? All right, well,
He's saying.
Something that I'd rather be going.
So,
I like
this is problematic.
it. You used to be the Diet Coke person.
I still am, but now I drink, caffeine free.
Oh, wow.
So there you go, you have to add another chemical.
Yes.
One takes place.
You know that wine's good for you, the next.
It's like people worrying about microplastics. I'm like, you know, this ship has sailed in my life. I probably, if I had a piece of it, I'd do it.
Did you know? Okay, so this.
I only did some research after, like, all this weird stuff around. This is super bizarre. And so, but it becomes a lot more like, you understand it more when you read all the great texts, right? Because there's evidence that these are included. Some of the evidence that's presented is like, if you read one part, right, from Homer up until like waterbed, right? Everybody seems to have this inclination to worship something rather than something. Right? It's everything, right? So people take that and they say, right, well, everybody's here to worship something. Okay, and you say, well, okay.
There's a throne that would have
Yeah, right. And so take that and Christians would say, okay, well,
Where are you?
breathing yourself throughout, getting oxygenated in various ways, right? Like, there's these okay. Right. And so right, like, so
he's manifest.
right. And so this is like, this is not weird, right? Where it gets weird is when they say, you are, it's rationalism, being placing your own rationality at the top is where a lot of these problems come from. Because what you say is, oh, no, if I'm gonna judge you, right, based on your actions, I'm going to judge you based on what you know. Right? If you think you're doing the right thing, I'm going to report you. Right? So if some culture fully believes they're doing the right thing, right, then they're going to be judged according to what's kind of the next logical step. So then you say, well, look at the religions of theology and people need to do the right thing. Right? They're all going to be judged. Yeah, this like good judgment comes from
It's the same. That's what
and
I'm
it's all this,
saying.
and it's all
That
kind
they were
of the,
really Christless in Christ, but that they were ultimately, that's, he was able to do that.
right,
Because
so,
they were seeking.
right,
That's
so
the
it's
difference
this
between
like,
progression, and seeing it as a progression. Through time. That God did have to do this.
right, the problem that you run into is, they run them all on everybody. So, it's a very tricky job, to actually get involved in paintings. What they would say, one of the reasons to see that picture is like states and very clearly
Yeah, there's a place of conversation. That's
they'll also teach like finance.
they give you both sides, because I can see the benefit, if you're learning those things from the perspective, if you say the same information. To learn those other sources.
You do.
To see what the another formation that also. But it's given to you all. So.
We have I can't hold it very long, my back is hurting. Yeah.
We don't suffer from it.
No? I just smile every time the father's going around saying, so-and-so the child, and so-and-so the child, and so-and-so, and it's like having the baby's long.
Isn't it cute? He's such a happy boy.
Where's your smile?
That one?
So they did her hair, did they? I figured we did. I thought the girls probably did.
Oh, another face.
Whatever those are.
Love to be talking. Yeah, they don't have to do different gender, they are totally different. I had theories, like, well, quiet, the second one came out, I said it's because she had a name for herself. She did. Okay. Did it happen every time you walk in?
So, they're giving you back. I think you're gonna be around.
No. You said it's
My first one was mixed. Well, Rachel just like it. She got drink your second cup of coffee. You're not ready. Well, this guy, I love this guy when he turns around. He's sucking his mouth. I think, who's he looking at? I love this thing. This guy, his hair's coming in. What color is this? Someone here that's green.
Yeah, I know, that's the way ours was. 2 weeks, it was like every 3 days.
Right, yeah.
So I debated whether to mow yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
Next 2 days. Sandy's supposed to clear it in.
Yeah. I got flowers too, yeah.
Oh, my God. Depends on how many times I talk. Linda's right there. Long ago, I was down there. It's hard to go good.
Right, right, that's kind of like.
I think we're about ready to start up again. They're still filtering in.
Christ is in our midst.
He is and ever shall be. This is a quick show on the process of making an icon. And everything we do with the 8 tempera icons are following an ancient recipe. And it's almost like a chem lab, because you have to have the exact measurements of the weight of the materials. So here they're starting to make it. You see that crock pot in the back holding a container with rabbit skin glue and water in it. And it has to be the right temperature or it won't work. The materials have to be the right weight, because you're combining rabbit skin glue with powdered chalk and also powdered marble. And if the marble proportion is higher than the chalk, the 8 tempera will not soak into the gesso. This is making gesso, and it's an ancient recipe. The wooden panel is the first covered with cheesecloth. Some iconographers use burlap, which is much rougher, and it's glued on, the fabric is glued on the wood, and then when it dries, it gets hard, so you take a razor blade and you can trim off the edges. It's like that, cheesecloth. And my teacher was so smart that when somebody brought cheesecloth to class, she lit the edge of it with a match. And if it melted, it was polyester. She was so brilliant. And then after that's done, 12 layers of gesso are combined. At least 12, you have to have the cloth completely covered. But the purpose of the cloth is because if you paint it right on the wood, sometimes the wood cracks. And the cloth being glued on is a bond between the paint and the wood. So when you're done with the gesso, it's as smooth as porcelain. And you don't see the weave of the cloth underneath it.
Do you want a chair there to put your stuff on? Would that make it easier?
Okay, the gesso looks like, it almost is, the recipe that Cindy gave us, it's almost like a spackle. It dries like Jell-O. And we put it in a container and you use a trough instead of a brush. Some people paint on gesso as liquid. This is much more efficient. And use a trough to put on about 12 coats until the weave is completely covered.
You have to let it dry completely.
Yeah.
How long does this process take?
A long time. What do you think? Well, it depends. You touch it, and if it's dry, then you put another coat on, usually in the opposite direction. You crisscross the coats. Wow. And it's like Jell-O, and she's so brilliant that we would cover the gesso with paper towels and soak it with throat spray, which has what do they use in funeral homes? Formaldehyde is in some of the some of the throat sprays for sore throats. And the formaldehyde, you soak a paper towel around the gesso, soak it with throat spray, and that would maintain it wouldn't start getting moldy and you could maintain that in a refrigerator, in a container, as long as the cheesecloth, as long as the paper towels around it were soaked with throat spray. That's the kind of stuff she came up with, which is brilliant, because if it goes bad, all of that work is lost. It's just like classic. topics. The ones that have the raised edge, it's called a kovchek in Russian. And it's, when you think of an icon being a window, that's almost like a window frame. And the icon is done in the inside of that frame. And that's really convenient for some churches who have several icons these days and other saints' days, because they stack them up in storage and the icon doesn't get hurt. Because that ridge on the outside part keeps them from touching the icon itself. A tempera is using only the yolk. This is important because egg white is not used in egg tempera. The yolk is separated, and then if you have it in your hand, you run it under water. You don't want water to hit the yolk, it hits your fingers, and you kind of swirl it around a little bit to clean off the white off the sack. Then you take the sack and you pierce it with a needle and squeeze it into a container. So the sack isn't used either. It's just the pure egg yolk inside the sack. Egg yolk becomes fossilized with time. If you see old paintings in museums done with big camera, they can be cleaned and you'll see the original colors. They fossilize almost turning into stone. That's why when eggs are thrown in cars or windows, it's really hard to clean off because they start drying. And that's why you also can't do egg tempera on canvas or anything that's flexible because it would just crack right off. This is my teacher's hand with a muller, and these are all pigments. They're rocks and minerals that she grinds into pigments. And we used to go to mineral shops during the workshop, and she would ask the owner if he had any broken things. And she bought a little elephant that was broken, and he said, "You want broken things? They have little carvings." And she said, "Yeah," and she would turn it into pigments. This is the collection of pigments that we get in a workshop, and that's enough. It looks small, but that's enough to, you could do a few icons with that amount of pigment. This is the color of flesh, and this is all the different shades of flesh. Some Greek icons have a more caramel look of the dark side of the face. Some Russian faces are olive green with the highlights on top of it. So this is just using the green, yellow, and red to make the basic flesh color, the darkest color of the face. And then the face is developed with light, which makes sense. Here's different backgrounds of the flesh, and you can see the first light is like a yellow, no green anymore, just the yellow and the red. And you have to pick a color that's a little lighter than that dark spot. So this part of iconography is the most exciting to me because the whole face is painted that dark color. And this first light, which they call this mixture, is like dead clay turning into light. You can see the blood flow. I mean, it's like a dark green face, and all of a sudden, that first light looks like it's coming alive. This is gold, 23 karat gold, and it is not used because of the material value of it. It's used because it's a perfect medium for uncreated light. So, and if an iconographer can't afford gold, they should paint the halo or background with light colors to represent the light of heaven. Pure gold, when you hold it up to the light, it's almost sheer. Gold is so malleable, they make these thinner than paper leaves, like you see here. Anyway, this is, the gold is done first before the icon is painted. What they do is the gessup's porous, so they put a layer of shellac that's, it is thinned out with alcohol, so it's not, you don't see brush strokes. And that seals the gesso where the gold is going to go. And then they put a coat of varnish on it, where the gold is. And let that dry, let that dry, and then the gold sizing is in a can, it looks like varnish, but it's a glue for the gold. And there's fast set and slow set sizing, and the fast set, is painted over the varnish. And, the slow set, you might have to wait 20 hours to do the gold. So it's really a, scary part of doing the icon. But after the gold is done, it's varnished. And then, this is called the rose krish. This is the darkest colors that you will see on the icon, and all the darker colors are done first. And then it's filled up with light. You can see the egg tempera is translucent a little bit, so you can still see the ink drawing on the board. And so you reinstate those drawings with the brown. See the lines, her eyes, nose, and features are done with it. Here's the first light on the icon, and you can see where the base color is left. And her garment is being modeled with light. See it gradually progress. The gold lines on her garment is called assist. It's like the word assist with an E on the end. And that is done. If you see the powdery look around it, that's because the tempera is very sticky in a way, and you cover it with pumice. It's almost like putting powder on the areas that are going to be gold. And they paint the lines where the gold's going to go with a glue actually made of beer. They boil beer for a day, and a bottle turns into a little bit of sticky glue. And so they use pumice first, and they paint the beer glue on it, and then they use gold to put on top of the icon. And the Theotokos always has 3 stars, one on her headdress and one on each shoulder, which you don't see if she's holding Christ. But that means she was a virgin before, during, and after the birth of Christ. So that's what the 3 stars represent. And the icon isn't finished until the halo's done and the name is on it. There again, you see the Greek letters, Mater Theo, and then Jesus Christos. And you see the halo, the cross in his halo. This is what is in our homes and icons in our car when you travel. You take one in your suitcase, little one. And so they're with us. They're tools for worship and prayer. And they're not decorations for your house. They're not supposed to match your sofa. And so that's a very intimate image of somebody's icon wall. There's another one. Family icons have all the saints that represent the members of the family on one icon. And that's really special too. St. Theodore the Studite said, humble matter becomes a vehicle of God's grace. Icons, oil lotion, water of baptism, myrrh of holy chrism, bread and wine for the Eucharist, bodies and relics of the saints. They raise us up to heaven much more than any ideas which man can conceive. So the icon is equal to the Holy Bible and the cross and the icon. Those are the 3 sacred things in our religion. How is it possible, though, to depict the divine harmony through earthly means? How can we convey that for which our hearts and souls pine? As everyone knows, to see certain stars, we need a telescope. To see cells, we need a microscope. In just the same way, we need a special sort of lens to see the divine realm. That special lens is the icon, an image that discloses a different world. Thank you so much. the icons to us in a cardboard tube, rolls them up and puts them in a long cardboard tube and mails them to us. He lives in California. So acrylic is fine, if just, and you use the same, try to imitate the same palette, the same colors.
But does it work differently?
No.
You can still build up dark to light?
Oh, yes, you do the same thing as you do with a tempera. Always start dark and then build up the light. In a tempera, you can't put a light on top of, like the first light is different, but the second and third lights are put on top of that first light only. And so it's almost, some of them are textured, they almost look like a topographical map. See the different races of the colors, and the final marks are the white lines and little highlights on the face. And that's the last light that you put on them. They can't be put on the dark part of the face. Build it up from the dark to the light. Is that it? Did I answer that right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they have been used. Yeah. Way before acrylics were invented.
Why the cheesecloth before the 12 layers of gesso? What's the cheesecloth do?
The cloth on the wood is a bond between the paint and the wood. And it also protects the icon from, because it protects the icon from wood if it's cracking. You know, sometimes the wood cracks if it's not seasoned right, and that cloth is a bond between the paint and the wood. Yeah, it's really important to have that. And the funny thing is, after it's all gesso, you don't even know there's fabric under it. Sometimes on the edge, you see a little weave sticking out. But it feels like, I'll put these over there, you could touch them. Anything else?
You see the icon over there, far upper right of that collection, that's silver sort of with the
Yes.
face,
Yes, that
when
was,
did that style come into play? How was that different from the Greek?
if you go to the Holy Land or anywhere overseas, you see people's jewelry hung in front of icons. Those were put there in Thanksgiving for prayers answered. So eventually they started building that jewelry in and making a cover for the icon. So all you actually see there is his face. And, yeah, it's amazing. Some of the famous icons overseas are with jewelry hanging in front of it. There's a Kochaya icon in Jordanville Monastery, and she has lots of jewelry in front of her. Yeah, I wish I should have brought pictures of that. But it's a Thanksgiving from people who prayed to that saint and their prayers were answered. You see wedding rings and gold chains and everything people put there just to thank that saint for answering their prayers.
When I was in Jerusalem, there's an icon of the Theotokos in a side chapel that's locked, you know, and you have to know somebody to get in there. And we knew somebody, so we got in there. And there was a miraculous icon of the Theotokos. It had jewelry hung all over it. Of course, I had never seen anything like this in my life. I had no idea what I was looking at. And so we asked the old priest, Father Elias, we said, why on earth is there all this jewelry? And he said, well, because everybody who comes here and they pray here, they're healed, because it was a weeping icon, a miraculous icon. Everyone who's healed sends something as a thanksgiving. And I said, well, that seems like a lot of healings. He says, oh, this is just a small percentage. The rest of it's, you know, in a different place.
They had to clean them off.
Yeah, they had to clear them off because there were so many healings. I mean, hundreds and maybe thousands. And so anyway, yeah. But I didn't realize that they melted it down. That's where those came from. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's called a risa. And speaking of saints, like St. John Maximovich, his body's in the Joy of All Sorrow Cathedral in San Francisco, and it has a glass cover. You see his hands crossed and his feet, and he's a little man, and that's where Vladimir is the choir director and iconographer. And people write letters to him, and there's a slot under the coffin where they put them on that box is filled. And so I heard a story recently where somebody was writing a letter to writing a letter to a dead man. And that night she dreamt of him and he said, I read all the letters. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So they're not dead, they're alive.
Wow.
Is there any reason that, like this one and that one and the many others are shaped differently?
No,
They're just,
yeah.
just that's
It's a
sometimes.
beautiful board that we started work on, that does have a meaning. One of my iconography teachers said, if you find somebody that makes really nice boards, marry them.
If you're to make icons with something like acrylic or oil-based paints, would you do it on canvas? And would you frame it? Would you glue it to the board?
On acrylic and oil, you would use water-based gesso. You buy this acrylic gesso. And you could use oil paint or acrylic on that. You don't have to make this gesso, which is just very temple.
So you could make the gesso and paint it right on the board?
No, you just buy gesso from an art supply and use it. This one you have to make if you're using a temple.
So I'm getting the impression that there's like symbolic meaning to parts of the process and making the icon using 12 layers of gesso, like 12
Oh,
is
no.
like a common number in the scriptures, right? Starting with dark colors and moving to light. Is that correct, or is it?
Dark to light is good, but gesso you might need 15 or 16. Well, this,
Okay.
it depends on how it covers the cloth.
Okay.
How does an iconographer prepare themselves? That's a good question. I meant to talk about that. Iconography is so different from fine art because iconographers' prayers are iconographers. And they really, in some cases, pray during work while they're working. Every brush stroke is a prayer in some iconography studio. In fact, when nuns do embroidery for the church, every stitch is a prayer. You know, and so there's certain prayers for iconographers, and also they recommend fasting and, you know, really serious. It's not like fine art at all. You're not supposed to sign your work because it's for the glory of God. You see icons with signatures, and that's always. I mean, when I learned this, it turns me off to see it now, but I didn't know that until I studied. There's so many things that do, and you really work better when you pray with every brush stroke.
For acrylic or oil, it's like the same process, you're just substituting the different gesso.
Yeah, you just, and you can do them on canvas. Like I said, the iconography does them on canvas and ships them in carpet ships, so they're all rolled up. Any other questions?
After someone gets the blessing from their priest to become an iconographer, what does that process look like for people that want to become iconographers?
I'm glad you asked that, because the first workshop I took was Zen. They gave us certificates that we studied under Zen. One woman in the class started a business and put that online, and she studied under Zen Cross. After that happened, they stopped giving the certificates, and she said, to be an iconographer, I mean, it takes years. You can't take a few workshops and think that you're good enough to be called an iconographer. And so she said, the first word, you need to know the whole alphabet before you call yourself an iconographer. And she said, the first workshop isn't even the letter A. She's really right, it takes years. I mean, children want to learn, that's great. They can create copies and create ones for their rooms, and if you call yourself an iconographer, and even Vladimir, he apprenticed under Father Kirion, who did the, if you ever go to Jordanville and see the monastery, the icons, he apprenticed under the priest who did that. And then in San Francisco, the same thing. And finally, Father Kirion said to him, you're ready now to go on your own. So it's not an easy, quick process.
Forgive me for asking such a personal question, but something I struggle
was the Jesus prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner, which is what monks say constantly. Yeah, it's not, whatever you like, but that's a very simple and meaningful prayer.
Okay, so it's,
So with every brushstroke, if you're paying attention.
so you're not just free praying the whole time necessarily, it's, sometimes it's just repetition.
Yeah, you can just repeat the same thing. You have a favorite one?
I have two questions.
Okay.
One is, and I know I want to keep
I know.
I was like, oh, poor Jason. Number one, how does someone go about finding either an iconographer to learn under, or with the availability of so many tools of the internet now, it's not that you need to know someone who knows an iconographer who will accept you as a pupil, or there's a lot of, my question is, how do we learn? If we get a blessing and we accept that it's a lifetime, you know, how does one find a teacher, or how does one, my other question is kind of, what are some things we should be cautious of in this age of instant everything, counterfeit everything, that's antithetical to, like, really the whole culture of the church? You know, so how do we find who to learn under, and, you know, what should we kind of be aware of in terms of, what do I want to say? I guess risk is associated with living in that age that doesn't appreciate the ancient information.
There are some iconographers that are bad to take lessons with because they have their own recipes for things and they don't share them. So they want you to be dependent on them. And then in my case, that shared everything she knew. That you want somebody who's open. How to find them, I don't know. Mine was a miracle. Our church, I'm in the choir church, and years ago we were invited up to St. Vladimir's to sing on their education day on Saturday. And then Sunday we went to His Father's Church in Paramus. Father's place there. And we sang at their liturgy Sunday morning, and she and I were walking down to the coffee house, which is in the basement. And there's this icon of the synaxis, and that synaxis means the grouping of North American saints. And it's an hagiographic icon, which means all the little icons on the margin are stories of their lives. Their faces are as big as your pinky nail, and their garments, tiny figures of each saint of North America in that margin, and they were perfect. Garments, the faces, the gold leaf was perfect. And I froze when I saw it. I said, oh my goodness. She said, I don't know, my father commissioned somebody to do it, I'll find out and I'll let you know. So a few months later, she comes up to me in choir and gives me a pamphlet. It was Xenia's first workshop in Lexington, Kentucky. I emigrated from Russia and moved to the Boston area. And the woman in Lexington's church was on the parish council to find an iconographer. And they almost picked one out. And somebody said to her, Mary, did you hear about Xenia Kropsky? She's world known and she just emigrated to Boston. So Mary called her, and instead of ask her for her portfolio, because they were having a meeting to decide who to pick. And she sent them a little miniature iconostops, wooden, it was all pinched together, and they opened them up and put them on the desk. And when the people came in, they said, oh my gosh, she's better, she's too good for us. That's what one guy said. And so then Mary wanted to know, to make her well-known in America. She's the one that started the workshop. It was amazing. I saw her work first, and then I got that pamphlet when her workshop was starting in Kentucky where I live. And the whole thing was just meant to be. Yeah. She passed away 13 years ago. Her daughter, I showed you her daughter, St. Nicholas, is excellent. She does want to teach the workshop.
I just have one quick question. Did you show us pictures of your icons?
Because if you come and you bring your pride and your self-will, and because you're going to serve the church this way, right, then it won't work. And so I would just ask you, what advice would you give? Because we have so many gifted people in the parish. What advice would you give if somebody said, look, I have this gift set from God, how can I use it in the way of the church? What should I do? What would you say?
Everybody has talent somewhere. And you're right about the humility. You can't do it for your own ego. I think that's the best way to look at it.
Surrender.
Yes. Yeah, like going from art school to iconography, where you sign your work and advertise your shows and everything, that doesn't happen with iconography. In fact, in the classes, the teachers would correct your icons, if you got your paintbrush and paint over your work, show you how to do it. In art school, that would drive you crazy. Yeah, you just never, I mean, I might have gone, all the workshops I took, I might have done one without intention. They all, yeah, they correct, they go around and correct your work. You have to get rid of your ego. Anything else? Looking forward to the mosaic presentation.
So thank you very much. So we'll take one more break, coffee break or water break or oxygen break or thunderstorm break. And then we'll come back for sharing Catherine's presentation.
Very short, by the way, it's not gonna be. So if you have to go, just.
Yeah, unless we ask you 45 minutes of class.
Well, that's your part.
All right, I'm gonna go get some more.
Show the church, I will.
Were you gonna have limestone sign at St. John's? Or incorporate? Number of saints, and then incorporate that into the building, the new building. Like, cause there's a lot of arches and circles.
We want St. John as a name.
She might not be alive. Anyway, no, I didn't.
I mean, it's her best work.
I don't know yet, it's not that certain.
So the way that you would connect it, you're there, the beach is this way.
Babies.
Not for hours. So they call it out.
So you are.
I don't think they let anyone know. I don't think they.
The reason that, and there's no after.
So they get there and just.
So what I'm saying is, you know, this thing for us to identify. You know, much more earlier, and you can scroll through it.
I don't think that.
That way, it'll be.
Somehow they get.
See that one?
Yeah, oh, like that? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for oh, no problem. It all ended up working out.
Images of Jason, I think, within 2 days, just and he's like, there's no change. And he says, I have no medical explanation. But there was, he said, like demarcated where the fence was. As though it was directed line. It was so like, maybe Robert's was I think it was so cool. I think it was like trouble. Okay, and we wouldn't talk about like the, I now even had an English, let's go out to Pennsylvania again. I didn't think that was it. Each thing we took it, he brings it back from the Father Peter was Jason, most people here, or even
Oh, Lord have mercy. What are you going?
I thought they were the George. But I don't know, where did Jason did know? Jason for the range. Were they out east for last?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Where did you see that? And why? But anyway, so that's the application. Just a paper icon. That is the
Yeah, there you go.
There was a compare business, I'll tell you what I saw. The community provides not a
Yeah, this is not good.
So they pull it down, it's the icon. It's on the local brings it to the bishop. I don't know why it's
Hi. No, it's right there. Good to see you.
Are you we get a picture of my picture before you go? Good. Fingers crossed. God bless you. Thank you. Glad to have you. Okay, great. Well, she's a guest speaker from Bloomington, Kentucky. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I got to step on and meet you. Yeah, that's the other big event in here. So I'll come on. I just have to. What's that?
My son gave me the data.
And so that varies, but right now it's on. I didn't. And Chicago, I did, and in Southern Illinois. They're all trying to fix, I gotta
I have no, I think
we can have it ready to go, and if you want to end up using it, do it. Should have gone out and flattered it up.
Yeah.
Oh, just go back, you know? I know, I am. You can just go ahead and start talking, 'cause I'm ready.
Can I give you the intro? I'll intro you, okay? Christ is in our midst.
He is and never shall be.
So I just want to give a quick introduction for Sharon Catherine. Most of you know who she is. Before she came to us, she was an art teacher for I don't know how many years, and an iconographer in the Byzantine Catholic tradition up in northern Indiana. Then she came to us, thanks be to God, and we began to see her works of iconography. You can see one here, the trick-to-here icon of the Theotokos in the Byzantine style, and many icons that are around our church. And so one day, I asked her, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe, I said, have you ever done anything in mosaic? And she said, no, I've never done mosaic. I said, okay, great, thank you. That was the conversation. And then I showed up that weekend, and I walked in my office, and there's a half-finished mosaic of the Theotokos with Christ. And I looked at it, and I thought, where in the world did this beautiful mosaic come from? And then I asked her, I said, is that anything to do with you? And she said, yes. In fact, that was my first attempt at mosaic. So then the reason I asked her is because I wanted her to do the mosaic, create the mosaic of the harem of Hades for up at the cemetery, you know, because we've had icons outdoors and they just don't weather well. Icons don't tend to weather very well outdoors. So she did that, and then she created the mosaic of St. Matthew for the St. Matthew shrine, which is based on the mosaics from Ravenna, Italy. It's absolutely beautiful. She created St. Pantalemon, which is next to the Holy Unmercenary Bell Tower. Then she created the Holy Unmercenary Women, which is out on the south side of the church. And then I was so fascinated by, during COVID, during the shutdown, I was fascinated by the Fools for Christ, the Holy Fools, and by the dendrites. The dendrites are saints of living trees. And so one of the dendrites that I was looking at was Saint Tikhon, not the bishop, Saint Tikhon of Kaluga, thank you. And so yeah, there's several Saint Tikhons. So anyway, so I showed up to church one day, and there's this mosaic of Saint Tikhon of Kaluga. It is tree. And you can see the tree around him, and he's in there doing his prayers, and he's got a fascinating story. I won't tell it right now, but he lived in a giant oak tree. And so anyway, Sharon Catherine has gone from being, no, I don't know anything about mosaic, to someone who creates mosaics that will weather storms and hurricanes and tornadoes and whatever nature throws at them. And she did the research to do that, and I thought it was just absolutely, it was a great example of somebody saying, I'm gonna do whatever I can to serve the church with what I've got. And so I was so thankful for that, and I asked her today if she would just talk to us for a little bit about mosaic and entertain your questions. And you see her mosaics again around the property and around the church. My favorite here, this is her best work. We did not commission this. She saw a new mosaic of St. John being unveiled online at a church in California, at this church, right? At the Twin are. She saw it being unveiled, and she was so moved by it, she made this for us. Which is just like, if you look at the beard, there are these little teeny shards, they're like hairs. Each one of them has to be cut or broken and put in place. And so, anyway, without further ado, Sharon Catherine, God bless you.
Well, thank you. My favorite part of what you says is how you trust me, because I don't have the great background that our previous speaker had. I've certainly learned from one iconographer to another over many, many years. I started being given the Jesus prayer course. I mean, that was part of the beginning of my conversion. major, master's in fine arts. I was the two together. I was like, that house, I think it's good for you, because that's what that hurts. And so little by little, and I started out thinking that I could bring the icon to, again, don't take this from me, because I was Catholic myself, to that church, because they didn't have it. And at the time, this is how long ago this was, well, in Vatican II or something like that, they were throwing all the statues out. I don't think you guys remember any of that. Now, some of you are too young to remember. Woo, you know? And just taking everything out of their churches and sort of starting over again. And for better or for worse, this is without judgment on that. And so they were really open to the icon at that time. I had tons of work, more than I could keep up with. And I don't want to make a long story short. I gradually moved into a business team, right? And then, of course, then I ended up. But I mean, it was a long journey, and I think one of the key things that got me from there to here was I called it robbing Peter to pay Paul, meaning everything's here. Why am I going back? I mean, being in the other church, in other words, why am I going back and forth? It wasn't in the Roman Catholic Church, no matter what you try to do. They don't have a sacred art tradition. They've had periods of time. They've had pleasure, right? You think of it yourselves. Please add, this is a normal thing. They've had tapestries, or some of the other things they've done. In here, probably, maybe you'll see some of the stuff. This would be, in a sense, pretty typical. I put these here on purpose. As kind of examples of what the Roman Catholic Church has done. Again, it's just, or I would call it wet. It's what I really wanted to share with you today was how can we tell the difference? What is it about this image? This image, honestly, this image. I mean, I was going to go through tons of them maybe another time. Here's one. Oh, you're not going to go like this? I would like to go. Anyway, I was going to ask you guys, in a sense, how, what is it that is going to help you as converts, do you know when that other type of art starts to sneak in? That was my whole point. Because there's ways that you can really start to pick out. It might be not fundamentally Orthodox. It might be a hand that's been changed. It might be just slightly turned different. Again, there's a lot of different things that I can figure out how to do. Well, look at the process is pretty much the same. If you do walls, I'm sure you can attest that there was a person doing the sketch, and I'm sure that's probably in the chart. But if you see somebody who's doing an icon like that, it's not exactly that. There's another one there. Okay, and then another thing to think about too is the light. You're talking about how there's light. For me, an icon can be done really, really well. And you'll, of course, have prints that'll show you icons that have been done really, really well. But where's the line? I thought it was Barbie for me, I did teach for a while. Barbie doll icons, meaning they're just so perfect. I don't think I actually okay, as I come to something, well, okay, there's a blessing. Here's a mosaic, for example. In the background and the painting, but not our style, right? I need you guys help with that. What is it? What is it? What about this one? Is that something acceptable in our church? Let's see if I can find it. Oh, by the way, sorry about this. You're certainly welcome I'm wanting feedback, guys. I already know what is this the same as, well, we don't have to direct it from here, I didn't prepare for that, well, anyway.
That one's got the shadows on the face.
Well, yeah, but isn't it three-dimensional too? I mean, it looks like it's, yeah, well, you know, I don't know about shadows, because in a way, when we came from dark to light, there sort of is a little bit of an inclination towards shadow. It's not shadow in the sense of how the human eye sees light. It's more about inner light, in other words, still back to your comment. Is it, where's the light? So you can get a really good account, but let's see.
Are you asking for examples of how we would differentiate a Western depiction?
Well, what about this? This is probably considered, it's not just Western. This is out there. This is easy to find. Finally, I just went through a bunch of stuff the other day. Just on Google, easy, maybe half of the icons are starting to, that's a bunch of things. Starting to change.
And
Guess
it's
what?
to get fleshy.
Guess what?
Yeah,
The
we
United
have-
States is first.
And when we lose the blessing hand, when we lose the ICIC and we have a hand in a different posture. given
Yeah,
the
Right, it's
blessing.
not the right, attitude.
Thank you. Now, see this icon for here, you see that they'd be blown away. When I showed you up above a little bit, the drawing of that beautiful Renaissance looking painting on the wall, look at this one. There's the beginning of, the sketch is already there. But then I'll go to that, and then I'll go to, basically their color.
See, with me, when I see Father Seraph in there with the bear, or not Father Seraph.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, okay. And look at the image of Christ. I see the Eastern Church in this one.
Yeah.
I see the Eastern Church in this one,
Yeah,
and I see the Western Roman Catholic Church in that one.
okay.
And so, to me, I'm in the East.
Yeah, that's what this whole point is. Oh, but if you look, again, if I could blow them up and maybe another time. There are some elements here. Saint Seraphim, because he's later, a saint that's more recent, you're gonna get into a whole other chapter of, we talk, how do you depict saints of our times? And I've done several. Thank you. The waffles, plus I'm so nervous, I can't even swallow. Sorry, guys.
Is there something specific you want to blow up with this Father Peter?
This is better, it's just
Okay.
Christians that are going to be something.
So we can find the journal sitting there, where the door is right there.
It doesn't matter, no, I mean,
That was
but I mean, they're all good. There you go. Look at that.
Oh.
And let me tell you, I have done some stuff on ceilings, and I have absolutely destroyed my neck. I am suffering to this day. No, it's not, it's funny, but it isn't. I have huge arthritis. I'm like, oh, I can do this, it doesn't matter. And then an hour or two later, I can do this, it doesn't matter. And then, a couple of years later, I can hardly walk.
Is this a custom chair?
They do have stuff like that. No, they do. I've seen lawn chairs used. I had a scaffolding that I called my bow, because it wasn't very big. And, it was probably 3 feet tall, and so I didn't have the convenience of letting this is such a beautiful one. And actually, there's more. I don't know if I can, where he keeps going, you're like that way. Ooh. Where was that one? This one.
Yes.
I just wanted to show you what it becomes.
And would he be projecting that up there?
That's a very good point.
Just do a little beard to
in-
make it more.
In my time, guys, I mean, I'm 71, okay? But when I started, lasers then. We didn't have, what do you call the cranes, the bucket cranes? That's what they use now. I'm not putting any of that down. There's nothing really wrong with that. It's just that I didn't have that. We were doing, when there was an apps that, you can't just use a, you know what I mean? An apps that goes like this, it's like saying to a pregnant woman, you can't just, we used a water line that was a hose with water that we would. Wow. So anyway, that just shows you, I think it might even be the same. Oh, wait, here too. This is interesting. Dynamic symmetry, we're talking about circles. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can study based on, you can take any icon if it's done well, I suppose, and you can dynamic symmetry it out. Do it. Try it at home. Just take tracing paper and see. Sometimes it's like here, you can see right here. A lot of times you want to find the center of your panel. This is not exactly the center. Okay, you do a cross first, and then you can go.
Yeah, my teacher, you also have to work with distortion, because if you're doing an icon for a dome, the distortion of that curve will make it, if you did it like normal on canvas, you put it in the dome, it would look like a squeeze
Oh, you
face.
can't, yes.
So you have to widen everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
My teacher used to build a little model of the church, like the apse with the curved wall, and do a drawing on that.
Wow.
To see what, when you spread it out, just like the Trinity I did in that curved wall, spread it out.
That's
And then
the
when you-
right way.
Yeah, that's a real skill, you can ruin an icon.
Yeah, the best iconographers can draw very well. In fact, they put Cordis and others that really emphasize. For me, that's not true. The light comes out of the painting. The drawing I take from the prototype, almost always. I've got a few times where our doctor back there. What's that?
St. Luke?
Yeah, for example, something where you have to kind of, I'll look at prototypes that already exist. Yeah, we're talking about this left. You kind of, but how far do you go? That is what I'm trying to talk about. I don't really call it with my too much. Veronica was put up there because I actually did have to, which I did, I don't even have. And I was like, yes, that was the imprint, perhaps the first actual icon.
Can you go that up for us?
Which one?
Yeah, that one, there's a couple of them. Okay, look, yeah. But what about her face? I'm not trying to be critical, this is not about Hudson or anything, please.
Very human, very fleshy, very pretty, very.
Pretty.
It's not otherworldly, you know.
Did you say emotion? Yes, he would say emotion.
She draws a different color.
Sorry,
Yes.
You wouldn't pray to that.
Yeah.
Well, they do, let me give you an example. This is work in Boston, and, cathedral, the whole, it was big, it was probably at least that big. And it was really ambition and very hard, all that stuff. But their iconostasis was Renaissance. We could not talk them into going to icons, and so it's incredible. And part of this is donors. Donors like to be top dog guys, and if they're still alive or their relatives, you're taking my icon out.
Oh, you can.
There was only one way that I found that people got, with the priest, he would say, we'll move it to a different one. That was sort of a middle path. But that was sort of like, here is this, and then here's this whole wall that we did,
So something I noticed is that like looking at Western art, like these paintings that are not traditional to
that just looks like a photograph.
Okay.
It doesn't look like an
Yeah.
icon at all.
Oh,
This one here?
yeah, I thought.
No, I'm talking about this, I'm talking about this.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm over here now, I'm there.
No, it's Seraphim
No,
over here.
it's very, no, that's an icon.
Why?
Why?
What's different from about this?
This one versus that other one.
Because that depicts the life of the saint, to me. The other one was just a photograph of some person that I didn't know.
Can I say something that sounds like a 6-year-old? So,
Join the club.
well, when I see an image, like if you're contrasting those two images of Saint Seraphim.
Yeah, I was trying to find the other one.
Yeah. The one with Saint Seraphim looking like thicker, maybe a heavier set of robes, the bear, the texture of the fur is like, you can almost feel the fur, it's so, all of the dimensions are like right there in front of you, but if you look at an icon, even if it's a similar scene like this, it's more flat, like the whole story is not being told on this side of the veil. And it is a window and you're invited in, but it's not like, I mean, I don't look at that and think that I can feel the texture of the bear's fur. It's a different depiction.
What about the bear's hands or paw?
Whole,
I thought that was interesting.
oh,
No comment, just, you know, look at his gaze. What do you think? What about this guy? Looks like Anthony. A lot of skill in that, or it looks like it's going very quickly.
You feel joy inside.
That's a really good point. That's, what do they call it? The glad, is it glad sorrow? There's a,
like the bright side,
sweet, isn't there a word for that, or it's,
the joyful sorrow.
yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah. In every icon, don't you think?
Yes.
And here's, again, there's not really a lot of order to it, but let's see what else we can find, because I did ask a question about, yeah, this one.
I feel like in some of them,
Oh, here, you're talking about light.
in the Western depictions, you're kind of to engage with it or connect with it, you have to kind of identify with the emotional experience that the subject is having. But with an icon, that's not the case at all. They're bearing witness, and we have to learn. It's different. It's prayerful. If you don't know what's going on, we're not being patient enough. But with the Western depictions, you really want to empathize with all of the emotion that's being shown in the question.
So, isn't it more New Age-ish that your religion is focused on the emotion, what you get out of it, as opposed to the veneration
What about
and
this one?
glory,
This is
the glorification of God?
I think that's
That
great.
one, that face that you all love, look at this one. This is full of emotion. So wait a minute, we're getting somewhere. I'm trying to show you just in quick time, and I'm gonna call it quits, is where do you experience the saint, the Lord, and think that's how we paint it. The more you know about a saint, the more you know how, or who it is. We were just, Rhonda and I, we were just talking about that. What happens if the faces are too similar? Well, one of the ways around that is you do your research. You do hours and days and months of research to know the saint. So that's the other side of the face. Does it have emotion? What about that one? I'm not saying that the colors are super great, but it's still beautiful. There's a mosaic. I'm supposed to talk about. Yeah. There's the finished one.
Oh,
Check that out. Now look at, you saw the beginning and now you see how fantastic that is. Look at that. Unbelievable.
That
Unbelievable.
is a whopper. Where is that?
Definitely not in the United States.
Oh.
I would say there's a lot of stuff happening in Russia and outside Russia. Today I just read, again, I call it one, my kids make fun of me and say, yeah, that, over a couple, I don't know, what's 20 years ago or something, the youth in Russia, there was 20% Orthodox. Guess what it is now? 40.
Hallelujah.
Awesome. Because they're allowed to do them. Remember the days when Zenya's little hermitage shrine thing was made into a closet, or no, a gardening tool? That's what was there, that's now. I don't think she's like their leader, by the way, but I don't talk about that. Maybe Russia, you don't know, that's a lot. Okay. Before I take too long. Oh, here we go, it's so easy. Forgot that, I'm showing you the easy ones, but there are some that are a little bit harder. Here's our St. Luke, doctor. Oh, and then this one. By the way, I don't know if this is Stephen or not. No, I don't know who this is. But it sure is beautiful. That. Absolutely amazing on the floor. Now what about, just so we can sum it up with, that one that's over here. There's
Pull it over so we can see it, we can't see it.
I know, I don't know how to use the computer. Not that, this one. All right. I don't know my Greek. Can you help me? I think I know who it is. Oh, well, no, it won't be. That's gotta be Nicholas, isn't it? I was thinking there's one there that they have put, St. Joseph in like that. That's not what I'm wrong. Okay, there's another, guess what? Here we go.
Yes.
That's a close-up of that same Stephen.
Shine. And look at the difference, look at the very old. Hey, you go online, you'll find there was the company, and I'm not sure who did it. They came out with a new sizing. Everybody went wild. This was really fast. You remember? Do you ever hear it? It was, it was yellow or whatever. And you do this, it's like, it's so easy, it's so fun. Yeah. This man here, I'm jumping all over the place. Oh, it's just constantly one of my heroes. When I first started out, and the guy that I started to see lunar icons from, he had been at Maniathos. This guy was the one that sort of turned everything around.
What was his name?
His Contemplative.
Is that the same guy?
You can see one of his icons. But people were doing, what were they doing? What were they doing with their icons?
They were doing Western faces, and he brought back this.
And it was a difficult turnaround.
They were doing Western faces.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm
ready.
I don't know about that one.
They were doing Western faces, say that again?
They were combining, see, that's what my whole point was, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. I don't know about this one. I get a little bit, there's a part of me that is, I don't know. That's beautiful.
Was he a citizen of Greece? Photios? Okay.
And his biggest collection in America is in Charleston, South Carolina. In the Greek church down there, they have the biggest collection of photos contemplated.
But he was just, I mean, I'm sure he was ostracized, he really had to it starts to get, oh, here we go, so this one, and this goes along with, that one goes along with, icons, let's say the new onboard. I use really information for that. How does iconographer deal with something like that in our Orthodox way? I mean, Orthodoxy is everything, that's the whole key. It's how you live, how you breathe, what you do, you worship, and what you look at online, and what you don't online. So in other words, you're purifying yourself in order to be part of Orthodoxy. It's not just, separate, it is a way of life. And it's the same thing. Anyway, this one, I don't recall prototype of out with the baby in the sling, you? No.
What I was thinking that the ones in the market, the family icons. Family icons sound the same, together the family painted on one board.
That's true.
Those saints on the margin might be the family.
Yeah, but that wasn't really what I was going for, was the sling.
Yeah, no. That's.
Well, there's that one. Do you think that's exaggerated or not, folks?
No.
Or is it acceptable? What about the face? What about the tilt? There's so much, there's so much. All right, let me just see how around or something.
So is that an acceptable icon?
Oh, by the way, that was the River Jordan. This
Right
one-
here?
Well, because I brought Fatini, there she is, look at she was gonna do the main talk, but, I don't know, are you familiar with the Hermitage? Are you? Or the book? Well, here is my copy. If you don't
Yes,
know,
I have read that, yes.
if you don't know her, you need to go home and buy a $9 book. This is probably 5 or 7. It is a very small, I mean, it just has everything in it, pretty compact. I'm just gonna read it. Okay. My mouth is so dry, it's fine. Just the whole preface here.
How true the golden words of our Savior Jesus Christ are, indeed.
This is about her.
He who despises as transient everything that the world cherishes receives 100-fold in this age and inherits eternal life in the age to come. The holy hermitage spoke to me, experienced the full truth of those words. After losing her earthly father, this blessed soul realized the vanity of all worldly delights and entrusted herself to her heavenly true Father. She distributed her belongings to the poor and in exchange acquired all the virtues. Thus she gathered fruit for herself in the storehouses above, where no thief approaches nor moth destroys. With manly determination, she overcame the desire to have a husband, children, and friends, and thus dwelt with the holy angels. In short, she denied all worldly delights and gained Christ himself, whom she loved and longed for with all her heart. She chose the rough and superhuman life of monastic solitude, by which she vanquished the bodiless enemies. By sacrificing every earthly comfort, she acquired the transcendent glory of the Almighty. With her angelic life, she attracted God's grace into her soul and was counted worthy of divine gifts, even the gift of foreknowledge. This blessed hermitess emerged victorious from the difficult path of solitude, which few dare to undertake nowadays, and set an example that inspires every soul struggling to fight the good fight. However, divine providence did not keep her efforts hidden for long. Father Joachim Spezieres was still enlightened from above, as Abu Zosimus once was, to discover this contemporary Saint Mary of Egypt. Here he eloquently relates the details of her unique life and places the lamp of her holy life on a lampstand.
One thing comes to mind too is that you say manly. Guess what? She was basically a man or a young boy until very much closer to this time when she's out in the wilderness. She dressed like a boy or a man. She had her hair like a man's mom. She wore man's clothing. Sorry, but it's the truth. So when we get critical about certain people, maybe we shouldn't be like critical. I don't know. In other words, if you read the story, Remember that part? Yeah, what do you think? That when she was, her name, they even called her Johnny, or, you know, right? Yeah, but I think Johnny was also 14 in Greek. Anyway, so that's a depiction of her cave. She had a little straw mattress over there, you can come and see. So I just read that when I just take off, I just go crazy. This is the man. Here's a little fire, little plants, blue garden. There's a little box up here. That was always, you know, the wild animals were, you know, wilderness, you know, it's not like it's easy. To say the least, but I just highly recommend, I wanted to read more, I was, it take too long, so maybe someday.
Can I ask you about that? What are the little sort of oval shapes right under her name?
I think that's actually, it might be a type of, corn or grain, some kind of stem. I noticed though, this was done a couple years ago, but there's a bunch of glue here, something's missing. I don't know if something ate it or what, I mean, it was just in my house, but you know. There was, I don't know, I think that, I don't remember what was up on that wall, but that she had no walls. That's it, so you can follow around in her garden. Anyway. So, that's about it for that. Oh, and then the mosaic, real quick. Anyway, mosaic means what? Who knows? That's easy. A mosaic means it's almost like the old type of pixel.
Oh, okay.
So you have all these little images or little pieces of something that come together to create one picture. That's what mosaic means. And the individual pieces, they call them in tertiary. What's the
Tesseract, yeah.
tesseract? I'm not sure what language that is.
I think that's Greek. Is it Latin? I don't know.
I don't know. And you get the nice thing about not being in the past is you can get your Roman glass already cut and ready to go. Or but also I cut it too, and I brought these with me.
What kind of things are you using in mosaics besides pre-cut pieces?
Anything I get my hands on, I think that what sets me apart, and it's not necessarily good, trust me, is if I find a piece and it looks like a nose, I'll use it. That's different than other mosaics. Probably there's many ways you can lay them, either straight across. I have some pictures. I think they're in the back. You can either go straight across, you can go around the objects. There's just different ways to lay them. But I sort of don't pay attention. And then I'm proud of you. Here's one. I mean, or we could pass it around to the water. Oh, whatever. See the way that the background is all set from Ravenna? Yeah, this is. So, that's another thing too. I'm not as orderly as I should be. They show up close. But it's the same materials. You know, I use a lot of recycled glass, and that's what probably makes it look different too. Not just straight tile. Like his garment here, his loincloth is a lot of white tumbled glass or recycled glass.
What kind of glue do you use?
That's another thing. Doing lots of research, a lot of people are doing this, it's changing. So not all change is bad, you know? I'm using Lexol. You can also use, it's a sealant that can withstand, it's got to be able to withstand hot and cold. And so that's why this board has been created for bathrooms, saunas and so on. So, and then you can grout it still with concrete. And this one might need it. I don't know.
That doesn't look like it's grouted, is it?
No, not all of them are. Good point. No, I don't think they have them either. I just put them real close together.
Yeah. Do you coat the whole thing when you're all done?
It's gotta be clean. It can be. That's why it's so. Anyway, that's where she And where she crossed the river over. And it goes to the story of her going like up to here, and she keeps hearing a voice. And, anyway. All right, is that it? Oh, there you go. There you go. So, I mean, I really didn't think I did my job, because the ones I wanted to show you was how the ones that were very close, but starting to get. What about this one? Show you an example of what I'm trying to say. There's just little clues. They're using, look at, they're using this. Their intent must be to make an icon.
His name's not right.
It's not right.
It says it's Omicron new
I see that.
instead of
Oops.
I wonder if that one's AI.
Oh, that would be something.
That was so weird.
I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes, like.
And the face is a little bit what? Just a little bit, not, a little bit babyish, right? And look what we've lost. That just really ticks me off when I see that building. That was ours. I don't care what anybody says.
Ideas of people.
I don't even know if this is. I don't think I'm on the right one. Oh, there's a little, there's, okay. Is that, I'll let you go, because this is close to what do you think of that? What about the face, the hands?
It's kind of fierce.
The ears are.
I was thinking it's kinder than that.
What do you think, Fathers?
I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting way that they've done something with the face, and like they mentioned the elfish ears.
I see that.
But they did something with the face that it's like we're moving towards realistic, so
Okay.
it feels like it's moving away from
He's right.
classical.
Look at the hand. Just a tiny bit. See, so my job today was, how are you gonna know yourself?
Differentiate, right.
As converts, how many of us are converts? And probably most of us. Well, that's your new task, is to be careful what you do buy, what you do. I mean, talk about the computer. It's changed everything. Why buy an icon? Just go buy a pen.
I was gonna ask about AI and its impact on iconographers.
Good and bad, I think.
Can either of you kind of talk about that?
That was just a whole other topic of the computer and iconography and what's going on. How do we know what's real?
How do we know it's real?
There was one of them, I think I'll go, but it just shows you the difference in style these two. That's the doctor, but that's still the style. I'm looking at style. Okay, well anyway, that one really. And he's a contemporary artist, what did the iconographer do with that one? Yeah. Thank you. I love you guys.
It literally looks like they took a photograph and then
You're gonna see a lot more of that. You're gonna see a lot more of that.
well, that's, I was given, somebody brought us this from Greece.
I saw that, yeah. There's an in-betweener.
Yeah, and it's just, it's like they took a
Yep.
photograph of St. Paisius and superimposed it into an icon. It's very interesting what they're doing.
Because you can do your silk screening, you can do your laser prints, you've got magnets, you've got, what else? Come on. I mean, it's endless. And so this is the thing about Orthodox Christians. You get really sick of it. Don't let yourself. Don't let yourself get sick of it. Isolate yourself if you have to. I've seen some people take the phone, go to a flip phone, whatever it takes. We're in a time of just bombardment of imagery, and we don't even know what's real. And it's far easier to be curious. So I would say less is more. I'm talking fathers who say, not orthodox.com or. And then one of the things too about icon teachers, I taught icons for several years, and you know what? It depends on the person. I don't want to teach, and I've said, I'm very hard to understand. I think it's better somebody who's very, very systematic, like who you learn from, is probably better than, I mean, I can do it. I know the process, but
Gold on tile? Gold on.
Yeah, I didn't bring any, but yeah, you order gold and it's $1 an inch, I think, more than that maybe.
Do you put it on the tile?
No.
You order gold on tile.
You can, I think it's fused on the glass.
Can you just do one, let's just step it. This is a tricky one, guys, and you're gonna mostly say you love it. What's different though? What's going on here that, you'd have to probably be in the tradition, is, you know.
I don't think I've ever seen an icon like that, holding Jesus' hand and
No.
walking.
It's called the first steps of the.
Right.
Oh, I did see
Can
that.
I say,
I've heard of that, but
the first steps I've seen is him walking toward his mother. It's different, it's not her home.
And I just had an icon in the bookstore.
You did.
But I don't think it looked like this.
well, my opinion is just to leave you with this. It's not part of our patterns and so on. It's not part of our, I would almost say our tradition. It's almost like you'll see the Holy Father, the Holy Family, and they'll put St. Joseph in. And it just throws the theology out the window. So John 4, Joseph. I have pictures of that, I don't know what. So I'm not saying that's a bad idea, it's very nice. But you do have to make those decisions, and I don't know if that's, Oh, that one. Oh,
So classic.
well, this one, I'm tired of knots. But that's. Anyway, one other thing too, that people say with icons, do they show their instruments of martyrdom? Generally not. So you don't see somebody coming up with, once in a while you'll see them carrying a hat or something, but I mean, safety on the floor for sure, but it's not typical to have, like, if they got an axe or something on them, that you don't necessarily show them holding it.
Yeah.
It's just not part, it's what? It's the transfigured new life. Why give them that?
Well, and if they're shown like in St. Catherine, it's almost like she's the master over the wheel. It's not showing her the victim of anything.
Now that one's getting a little bit Western, but not too much. Anybody else?
Scissors.
Any other, I don't know. Those are just cutting or paper or something. They were just for examples, guys. So anyway. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
All right, well, I think that we have, are we free yet?
I'm gone.
We're out here. I want to just invite you, as long as you don't touch the mosaics, please, invite you to come and see Sharon Catherine's work. She's working on a crucifix mosaic up here for a little yard.
Yeah, it'll come off, let's see.
Where is it going?
That's for her yard. So anyway, she's doing some different things, and I just want to invite you up to look at them and ask you any
I
questions.
know, it looks like I lost this one.
Thank you all for coming. God bless you. Is there any leftover falafel? If anybody's hungry, there's more food.
It's never gonna put it away, so if you want any food, you should get it the next time.
I'm sorry.
Sharon's gonna need help getting this back to her car.
It doesn't fit the car.
Yes.
I found somebody.
I'm at the car. Okay. I'll be there shortly.
Young men and
I have a bunch for you.
6.
I don't even know what time it is.
Probably 3-ish.
This is,
I'm gonna have to wait.
okay, yes.
Actually, I should do that now. Oh, I'm so glad you came. Sorry you're driving home in the rain. Oh, I don't mind.
Thank you.
We've been keeping an altar always. Around windows, you can have round windows, I think around windows. So the round windows are gonna fall.
Yeah, we gotta get this whole thing situated, and that's not a simple task. Let's see.
I had the floor marked, but they were removed.
Not just this row, because this row
There's
is
4
down
here.
here. 4 here. And then we need a bunch over here.
Well, it's not like that, it's like this.
Yeah. Looks like this. That row. Okay, we need, let's see. Linda's. Yeah. Wouldn't have been a sensible thing to do, but it's too late now. Well, I know Christina has
not enough space.
Give me a little further back. I've lived it here to try. I'll go look.
Push these back a bit further.
I think that's good, because that allows government. That's good. Some people didn't like my honey around that.
Now, there's a, these are too long, this is too many chairs in a row.
No, that's why I said,
This is, we need a wider berth.
I'm gonna let you fix it.
We have to have a space for Mary.
Not quite yet.
In a wheelchair. Because I'm saying, yeah, this is Mary Ann's wheelchair. Yeah. And then if I put music on, then that helps me know. Okay, so a bunch of these chairs go back.
Is today Coach's birthday, or was it this week? His birthday's in January. Maybe a wedding anniversary.
See, that's too many. No, Randy. Because Mary Ann is coming in a wheelchair tomorrow. But these, this is fine.
That's on his name in print recently.
I have.
Very good, okay. Yes.
Well, we should probably have that. And then there's probably not a lot of We're getting close. We're getting close. Charles, seems like it's about, we're trying to recreate this from.
What we need is Nina.
I know.
Nina is the expert.
It seems to me
I
that
will do something
Okay, I'm
like
gonna
this,
get
and Nina
Nina
will come in
before
and
we-
talk to you
before we
about
do this.
all
I
that.
think they need to be angled more, because right now they're looking there and they.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wendy. I'm gonna get Nina.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for helping.
Nina?
Nina makes it look like it's like any idiot can do it.
Okay, do you need help?
No. Are you done with your class?
No, it's not training as hard.
Yeah.
For so many
I don't wanna keep it over here for another friend or drop it.
No.
Do you want another sip and I'll go for it?
It smells so good.
You need your eyes.
Alright, so.
I got to keep myself in motion, I apologize.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Let's go a little further. So you can swing that.
It feels like it's not enough of an angle. Like it needs to be more.
Nina
Oh, it doesn't go that far.
It doesn't? Well, come and do this first one, fix it.
That is about the right spot for her.
Now, we're leaving, just so you know, no. Linda says Mary Ann's coming in a wheelchair. She wants to be here. So that's why I just put that there, that's her space, okay? So then from now on, you can rearrange the rest. So
We'll
we'll
start
start
from
with
the
the
bathroom.
bathroom.
We'll start from the front.
Okay, so then now these have to all swing up. I'm gonna get the stands and get them in place. And, where did all the men folk go? Father, I would appreciate if you could get this St. John and put it safe or something.
St. John, oh,
Scares
yes,
me to
yes, that's a good point. With this tripod that's so well built. Yeah. It is
Were you being
fine
sarcastic?
quality. A little bit, this is a bad tripod, actually. Look at this thing, it's coming apart. It's bad, it's bad. The construction of it wasn't quite what it needed to be. Hey, can you hold that for a minute? Can you hold that?
Hey, it goes in the bathroom.
Oh, I'm sorry, never mind, thank you, okay.
Put the metal on that.
Hey, I don't know how to hold it, I don't know
I
what's
need
happening here.
Christian, if you can
Tell me
find
what
me.
you think. Oh, sorry, whoa, this thing is in bad shape. You know, stick with monastic prayer. Don't live in the house.
And I think we have too many chairs. I think
Okay.
this
I
one.
mean, that's just don't do that. Look at it, it's coming apart. I just don't get it.
See, because I'm missing a chair here.
Christian,
I know, I mean, am I right? Count the chairs, tell me.
Ferraros.
But this is
Justin
way
and
wider.
Theodore.
This, we don't need this.
This is the
Second.
Theodore of Justinian.
Hello. Yeah, that is.
And don't we have a Justinian around here someplace in
Yes,
some
you
form?
just deal with all the text
Yeah,
stuff.
and one of the.
Green and the, thank you, very much.
I don't know.
I can roll this back.
Oh, that was,
It's
calm. That was calm.
kind of a cynical thing, right? We're looking at Sarah Robinson's picture that was
Can we get a pic with you?
yeah.
We get a pic with yours.
That's yours.
Thank you. We'll get a pic with the back on the altar. One of you two together, because I'm only the sinner. Ready? Ready? Got it, there's that, and I'll get one with you guys so I can say I.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
You driving home now?
how can that be a
Bless you and
picture? You're in
protect
the
you.
dark. Can we try that again?
He got beautiful. He's got a good camera.
I got a great camera, yeah.
Hey, look who it is.
Here, can you come over here? Maybe in front of some icons? Father and Jenny. That's what I was looking for.
Hey, Father and Jenny.
So, that father that you. You're the father.
No, you.
I'm sorry.
Can you? I thought she could.
Sharon.
Sharon, these are beautiful.
Aren't they amazing?
What? You're a mosaic. There's so much to see.
I'm supposed to have a meeting in my office. It's by accident.
It is raining outside.
Yeah, I like what Sharon Catherine does, but I like is that she's an artist, right? So she's like, she takes license and she uses like old school, and I actually love that. No idea.
We just, it's just, it's on this gigantic piece of.
Yeah, they're heavy.
Oh, yeah.
No. Well, what it was made for was to go inside of a hollow trunk. So I've been looking for a hollow trunk for about 2 years, and every time I find one, it's not the right one. So we're gonna keep looking.
Little Iggy baby goners.
Yeah, those stuff I need.
Here.
Oh.
How about over here? Just in front of some icons or something.
My oldest son has red hair.
No, I'm not here.
Why not?
I died.
Come on. No fun.
Okay, try that. I have lots of her mosaics, I just. I'm constantly taking pictures. Oh, yeah, that's great. Well, you know, and this, just warmed my heart. Well, Sharon did these, you know, arches.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff. But
I
it
like
just, to me, when we first came, the first time my husband and I came to the church, that's exactly what, I offered to give you help.
I still have more there.
Oh, here, give me Jesus. Or give me the big icon. That thing has a ton.
Thank you. Oh, what a
Like, good old thing.
This makes me scared. I don't want somebody to walk away.
I know.
You'll protect them, right, Nina?
Yes. Okay.
It's raining out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Boring.
We have 100%
Yeah,
chance
sure
of
would.
rain
Now it
today.
is, now it isn't.
Okay, can we fix it, Diane?
Yeah, you have too many chairs over here.
Yeah, see, I thought they needed to go over. No. I'm the sweet chair. But I can now put music stands there.
Nice meeting you.
Oh, it's nice meeting you. Thank you so much. Are you driving home now?
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna change.
Oh, I had nothing to do with the, baby. I'm gonna apply how to use this. I'll figure it out.
Well, I do wonder though,
You got the one?
so we need to shift everything this way, so
That's
smart. Okay.
Yeah, see, to me, this
seem
space, and I
better?
noted that this
Does this
space,
seem
this
better?
is about right. Yeah, well, you got that now.
Okay.
There's more room over there is important for the process.
I think they might have to go this way.
So we'll leave this for now because of, yeah. Where are my guys helping her figure stuff out? Wait a minute, Sharon, I'm getting some help here.
I do.
Christian, we could use your help.
Still can't swallow. No, that'll be better.
The second.
He is.
Who's not watching me, Nina?
My daughters.
Oh.
Yeah. My oldest granddaughter came to watch them, but
The one that's local?
yeah, my daughter's came.
Karen, you might want to pull your car up here. Or I can go pull it up either way, but, just so we don't have to carry it too far in the rain.
Does this extension cord go in the utility closet?
That extension cord gets plugged back into the, blue vacuum.
That comes from the vacuum.
And I don't know where that power strip came from here on the cart. That power strip actually needs to connect it.
Thank you. I'm gonna put this in the,
Okay.
oh, there's not the seams in there.
Hey, you can't laugh. I don't know what you can't do.
This goes in the bathroom. There's my scissors. Oh, thanks,
Do you
just.
remember John, April's son?
Her legs
Son,
around
his son, I remember when he used to sleep during the red light late at night, he's possibly,
Oh, no,
these
these are.
are
I'll take
mother's.
them.
Cause then we gotta drop those tables.
Yeah, she still has them.
This one?
Mosaic.
I bought this mug in Texas. No.
Okay.
I bought this mug in Texas, and this is my favorite coffee mug. And then I come home one day. Yeah, I come home one day. It's kind of I get chip. Like, what happened? So I was like, oh, I dropped it. Like,
Alright, I
thanks.
hope that's enough.
So now you get to make an icon of my favorite
When
mug.
I take old mugs like that, not old, but I mean broken, and I use them for plants, sometimes they need a hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're all pinch
Why
points.
can't these guys go without?
So, I don't know where it's gonna put this chair.
Well,
It could
I'll
go
sit
up here easily.
outside.
We have plenty of room here. So, hopefully Christian's gonna come back as he carries.
He's moving the car. Yeah, this is not for me, I can't do this.
No, you give him, I couldn't find, all the other men folk are
They took off.
busy. Well, Gregory and Stephen are tutoring sessions.
Oh, that's nice. We got one more to go. I think you and maybe one other person, I suppose.
Okay, you just walk with me.
I'm staying out of that one. We just need one other person, but I think Christian's backing it up.
Yeah, Johnny said this.
This is very hard, the reason it's very hard to get in the car, because it's too big, so you have to. Yeah. It's not super heavy to hold, it's just the arms. Well, you can start, it's not that bad.
Good?
I'll tell you, doing it on the back porch is not a good idea, uh-oh, you're gonna have to go higher. It's too humid. You know what I mean?
Whoops, lost a cover.
That's okay. Just an old break. Oh. No, I absolutely hate public things. I just really, I wish I wouldn't have done it, but oh well, I guess I couldn't. Father asked me like 3 other times and I always couched. So at least I showed up. He's probably preparing for the fact that I might not. I would rather open this than have it, what is it?
And that was
It's locked. Okay. I don't wanna turn it sideways because it's just. I already lost my keys. Not a problem.
What's that?
it.
Mary's trying to get into the car. I bet they're gonna kill me.
Yep, there it is.
Just trying to figure out how I get it.
Was it the first?
Don't know.
We're gonna be gone.
Big glass of what? Oh, I got mine. I think you're going with Vino and Veritas.
I thought that was so funny. I've been to show that to a lot of people. I just thought it was a, you never believe what happened to me.